If you are speaking this evening, we ask that you please direct all comments, questions, and concerns to this board, not to one another. If you do need to speak to one another, please take it out into the hallway. It interferes with our opportunity to hear those that are speaking. And as always, we're going to ask that we be courteous and time sensitive for applications going forward. We're going to start this meeting first by a call to open. Motion to call open.
I make a motion to open the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for December 8th, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome to the December 8th, 2014 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. We'll introduce our panel. We'd like to welcome Ham Hogue, Esther Pastor. We'd like to welcome Brian Brady, and we certainly would like to welcome back Christina Redding. Zach Studenroth, our historic consultant, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, and as always, we welcome you, Antoinette. First, we're going to start this meeting with signs, and first application sign.
Chair, Sue Liu, architect sign.
Is the applicant present? Please step forward. Your name for the record, please.
Siu Liu, architect.
Contractor sign. Name of your...
Architect.
Architect sign.
I'm sorry.
That's my son.
Has website, Southampton, New York, and telephone number, correct? White background, is that the font that you're using? Board members, any issues?
No problem.
Nope.
Christine?
I'm fine with it.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the sign for Siu Liu Architect.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is for a real estate sign, Nest Seekers. Third time up, I think.
Is the applicant present for Nest Seekers? Did we send any letter, any type of correspondence to the applicant? Have we?
I'm looking right now. No. There was just nobody here last time.
Okay, it's a real estate sign. The word exclusive is something we don't encourage in the body of the email itself. I'm sorry, body of the sign itself. Normally it would be an annex or in addition to. I think it needs further development. Ham, any questions?
I agree.
Esther?
Too much.
I concur. Agree.
I agree.
All right, if we can get a letter out to a representative for Nest Seekers. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the sign for Nest Seekers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And our final sign permit for the city.
Deferred architectural engineering and construction for sort of a job sign.
Hi, your name for the record.
Stephanie Stevens.
This is the job site sign.
Job site sign.
Sure.
Is this
We try to encourage just a number and a name. So if you look at the next one, it's a multiple sign.
That's a sample of what the sign will look like.
Okay,
There will
the
not be
size.
multiple signs on it. It's just for that sign and then a place for the permits.
Got it. So where it says John Rose on the sign,
That's
that's the
Xed out.
size, and that's where your sign would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Board members, any questions? This is the sign, the font, and the color.
I don't have an issue with it.
Christine? Esther?
I have no problem with it.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the sign for, wait, I don't have it on,
Second.
Shipper Architectural Engineering.
Second.
It's moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 That concludes our sign permits for this evening. First application, historic.
First application is Thomas and Meredith Joyce, 765 Hill.
Applicant has
Applicant's
requested this.
requested an adjournment.
Okay. Motion, the applicant has requested to adjourn until January 12th. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn Thomas and Meredith Joyce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This goes
Hugh
in the
Fremantle, 252 Hill Street. We're waiting for a written decision on this.
This was approved for decision, Mr. Chairman, but I don't have one ready. It was not, as you can see from the agenda tonight, it didn't show as closed for decision, so we'll have that for the applicant on January 12th.
Okay. Motion's, the application's already closed. Next application, please.
Next application is for Leeds. There's a written original decision in front of you.
Counsel?
Before you is a written decision approving the application as submitted. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the application.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for Jeffrey Leeds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, next application is JP 24 Gin Lane. It's closed for a written decision.
In reviewing the file for the decision, I determined that there were no architectural seals on the drawings. So I've had a brief conversation with the applicant's representative to try and have them submitted between now and the next meeting.
Very good. Next application, please.
Next application is Pamela Michaelchuk.
Good evening. My name is Monique Romeo. I'm representing Ms. Michaelchuk at 48 Fairley Road in Southampton for the gates. I presume that you've seen.
Okay, so it's, spacing 1.5 inches.
That's
The
correct.
pickets are
1
1 by 3 and
and a quarter.
okay. Try to encourage a little wider transparency between the pickets, but we'll see if the board has any issue with the lattice style, smaller picket. Ham?
No, not in that location.
Esther?
I'm okay with that.
Christine?
Okay.
I'm fine with it because there's no solid panel or anything on it, so.
There will be no lanterns?
Pardon?
Will there be any lanterns on the pillars?
Yes, later on.
They're not defined within your opinion.
Right now, no, but they might be for later on, which in case we will apply for it.
Okay, so you understand that if you
Yes.
do, you will have to come back before this
Yes.
board for
Yes.
reapproval. Very good. Any public comment on the application? All right, the property is located in the historic district, therefore, any decision has to be in writing. Seems to be in the firm of approval before this board, so that our next meeting, which will be the 12th, we will have your written decision for this application. Do you have any questions?
No? Thank you.
Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion to close Pamela Michaelchuk for written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is 27 Gin Lane, two-story addition.
Good evening, Michael Berenger, architect for the applicant.
Let's see.
This is a 2.5 acre parcel that is served by a flag lot off of Gin Lane. It has some nice frontage on Lake Agawam, but no visibility from the street. There is a residence on the property of approximately 14,000 square feet that was built in the 70s, was added on to in the 80s, and that's the subject of the addition. There was an indoor swimming pool addition of about 2,480 square feet that was built in the early 80s. That the new owner, this was formerly Spielvogel, you know the residence, but the current owner would like to remove the indoor swimming pool. We have plans submitted to construct a much smaller two-story addition that is a hipped roof that is really not in any kind of competition with the structure itself, but there's a new swimming pool that's going to be built out overlooking the lake. So they just felt that the indoor pool was not really something that they wanted. And, as far as the style of the home, I'd say it has a lot of elements of a shingle-style home, but it has a very kind of overstated Greek revival kind of front entry facade. The addition, as I said, was really only 1,100 square feet on 2 stories, and we meant for it to really not compete with any elements of the house. But as I said, it's a 70s house and it's not visible from the street, so.
So the addition itself is at the rear. There's no other area or element of the house is being altered in any way. The total square footage of the addition is 1,100 square feet.
Correct.
And it's to, the inside and the use of, proper use of inside is irrelevant before this board, it's just the aesthetics. You're using the same materials that's
Yes.
currently, same style of window.
Absolutely, yes.
Zach, have you had the opportunity to review?
Yeah, this is not a contributing structure, so it does not present any issue on that regard.
Brian, any comments?
No, I thought the addition was fine, very sympathetic to what's there. I have no issues with it.
Good, thank you.
Ham?
Nope.
I agree with Brian.
Christine, have you had the opportunity to
I
review?
did look at the plan this morning, and I don't see any issues with it.
Feel it's a modest style, it's within keeping, no issue. Is there any public comment on the application? Property is located in the historic district,
Yep.
therefore requires written decision.
Okay.
Our next meeting will be the 12th of January,
All right,
so we'll see you then.
happy holidays.
You too.
Thank you.
Motion to close the application for written decision.
Make a motion to close 27 Gin Lane for a written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Eva Wyman, 78 First Neck.
Good evening. My name is Andre Cheleschev. I'm an architect representing Mrs. Wyman.
I've seen it, yeah.
I also have a copy that
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, there's a letter in
I
the
am
file
looking
that was delivered this afternoon on this. Thank you. Requested reading into the record. The bullet points of the writer of the letter came from
Send it over to
Antoinette.
Antoinette to be read into the record.
on page 2.
Do you want this read right now?
Please.
Okay, so this is from, Frederick Wyman 2. And it says, Dear Chairman, regrettably, I won't be able to attend this meeting as I've been out of town. I have several comments that I would appreciate your board considering as you review this application. Please read into the record. The subject property was conveyed on February 16, 2012 pursuant to an option granted by the general partner, my father, years ago, and was because of its proximity to the property owner by the SHW LTD partnership, subject to covenants in the deed to ensure that when a residence and other improvements were erected, these structures would not have a negative effect on the balance of the SHW LTD partnership property holdings. I trust that now your board has been made aware of this matter, that you will require the applicant to comply with the recording deed that should have been incorporated into the plan submitted to your board by the applicant in this place. Neither the Hammond Landscape Site Plan nor the BBV Site Plan Survey accurately represents the rear yard setbacks. There are covenants restricting where structures can be built. The rear yard presumably incorporates both sections of the northerly property line of the rear of the lot. The BBV survey specifically notes that the survey was prepared without benefit of a title report, and therefore the existence of any covenants, etc., are not shown. Applicants should be required to provide this information. The landscape site plan prepared by Quincy Hammond reflects that the existing evergreens on the westerly side are located on the subject property. They are not. The photographs do not accurately reflect the condition of the site as it presently exists. The Hammond landscape plan indicates that this house is to be sited on 3-foot-tall mound. I believe that under Southampton Village zoning regulations, the house will exceed the maximum allowable height. All proposed elevations should be clearly stated relative to existing grade conditions. The proposed siting of the house is designed to have the most significant impact on the adjacent to tax lot 52.3. Possibly placing the house more to the middle of the lot would be desirable. The proposed driveway with the parking area, not well depicted in the current plans, is also designed to have a negative impact on the neighboring properties as well as possible. The site plan do not show where the proposed septic fields will be located, nor any subsurface stormwater drainage facilities, which given site covenants may affect the location of improvements. This plan further indicates that a deciduous 8-foot tall privet hedge is to be planted in the northerly and westerly boundaries adjacent to tax lot 52.3. I respectfully suggest that more appropriate screening would be of an evergreen material 14 to 16 feet tall. The applicant should be required to reflect the conditions of the covenants on the survey as well as the site plan to comply with them. Finally, only one can hope that this house will not be visible from First Neck Lane or anywhere else for that matter, because from an aesthetic standpoint, this distinguished boxy house with exaggerated first floor ceiling height and questionable penetration would be an eyesore and detract from the neighborhood. I want to thank Jackie and the building department for having the site plan and the house plan scanned so that I could review them from afar. I would also like to thank the board in advance for these considerations.
Just for the record, indicate that certain areas of that letter refer to matters in which this board has no jurisdiction on. Site plan, planning being two of the boards that would be responsible for these drainage, any covenants or placement of the residents on the lot itself. So this board is only an aesthetic board, and then therefore will only address the areas of aesthetics, which was in the latter part of that letter and indicated its inappropriateness to the community. And those are the only areas that this board will address. Is there any public comment before we go any further with that? Please step forward. Your name for the record, too.
Vanessa Rooks. I'm just wondering if there's any greater detail that the landscaping that was mentioned in that letter, especially on the western, southern, I guess, and northern sides that do not border Mr. Wyman's property, but the other three, and First Neck Lane, especially the perimeter landscaping, primarily if a wood fence is going to be used with privet, which Mrs. Wyman did put on First Neck Lane already. And if privet is planned to be used on all those sides, especially the southern side and First Neck Lane, if that's going to be kept. And if so, if we could suggest a staggered evergreen, preferably not Leland cypress because that gets huge, but if there's any kind of evergreen that could be staggered instead of just a wood fence and the privet is a primary question we have.
Vanessa, have you seen the landscape plan as it's proposed
I have.
now? Did you see
It was a little
did you see specifically this plan?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
And so what are your issues? Your issues are the boundaries on the north, west, east, and
The
south?
southern border.
Southern side.
Yeah, where the pool is.
Okay.
Borders are my mother and my property.
Okay.
And we were wondering, that plan doesn't really show exactly what's going to happen, except for it does show privet possibly.
Okay.
That's going to be used.
Right.
And we were just wondering if she's going to continue with the wood fence.
Do you
that's on-
agree with the contents of the letter that was read into the record a little while ago about the thickness and the size of the evergreens? Did you hear the
I did hear
details?
that in the letter, but
Okay.
he didn't specifically say Leland cypress or not. I know that gets just huge.
You're
and
looking
takes
for more
over.
definition in the landscape plan, is
Yes,
that correct?
especially along the border and the perimeter
Around
of
the
the property.
perimeters.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, we didn't really have the opportunity to actually present a case as of yet. We just start referring to public comment, but I'm sure you have both rebuttal and further development on your application. We would also ask that you go into depths over the style of the home itself.
It would be my pleasure. Regarding the covenants, what we received from Mrs. Wyman and her attorney and the site surveyor, that's what we're basing it on. So I'm not aware of that covenant, but we'll certainly ask about that. We have placed the building within all the setbacks, so essentially it would be without any variances, for the best of our knowledge. And then otherwise, we're here to show our design in context of the Village of Southampton Historic District. So if I may do that in terms of the style and why we're approach this.
Okay.
First of all, Mrs. Wyman she's an art collector. She's interested in history, but she's also interested in not necessarily duplicating history verbatim, but saying how she could work within the historical context and work it with what she would like to do. So first of the things I'd like to do is pull up a board that has images of homes in the neighborhood that we have. No, that's this one, that we have referred to in terms of designing this house.
Is that
in
throughout
terms-
the village of Southampton, or is that a? an
Well,
accurate-
in the vicinity.
Okay, so that's that a
given-
streetscape, or is it within the?
Within the vicinity in terms of homes with balustrades, the homes with the colonnades, the homes with the receding roofs. So that was one of the considerations.
That's the camera.
Certainly. Put that out there. And then you guys have, on terms of your sheets there, the initially submitted was an unrendered plan, but the homes that we looked at were, it's a white shiplap clapper with a darker trim. So in terms of context of the village and homes that I just shown you.
Can you again turn that
Yep,
towards the
certainly.
camera
Just wanna
and
make
look
sure.
towards the public, please?
I didn't want And then you've seen just like have a bigger site plan for both that you have all seen, but I just want to point towards the public insofar as the setbacks were within the as-of-right. And then we will find out about the comment.
Also part of a full record, we normally, I appreciate the content in which, the context rather, in which you, I guess, receive some of your inspiration, but we also ask for a streetscape just to give
Oh,
a-
yes, yes.
an idea of a content of
Yes,
the
I do
community.
have that. Well, what we did is, what we interpreted is, what we produced, and it is in that packet, is this is standing in the middle of the site to be able to see all of the 360 of the property. And as you see here, where on the 3D image, where the house is sited, just as Frederick Wyman had written, you won't really see this house from any of the properties adjacent.
How far back is the house from First Neck?
It is,
Approximately.
yeah, let me give you that. That is my rendered plan, I think it's on this plan. I had it on this, I didn't put it on the. It's about just beyond halfway. It's a 3.75 acre property.
How many feet is it back from?
Yeah, about 200.
200 feet back.
Yes.
I have it on the other side.
About half the distance, so it's in the center line, east-west.
That is correct.
Okay.
One of the arguments was that the house itself threatens the height requirements within the village of Southampton. What is the height of that?
The height is currently,
On the top of the LCC roof.
Yeah. We have it marked on that drawing at 34, but this is actually 30 feet from this grade.
From existing grade.
From this grade. Well, we have a 2-foot berm, so it would be.
You're allowed 2 feet, right?
That's why we took the 2 feet, a slight berm, and.
You're at 33 worst case then.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Zach, in terms of content of community, historically speaking.
Well, it's in the district, of course, this is a vacant parcel. And so the aesthetic issue is really compatibility of this design with, not so much the village as a whole, but I think more importantly, the more immediate neighborhood. I'm not remembering any sort of neoclassical or classical or Greek revival derived structures in that neighborhood. So it, from an aesthetic standpoint, I think it does kind of stand out a bit from its immediate context. It's not next door to the Rogers Library, et cetera. So, we do have some really lovely traditional Greek revival period houses in the village, but I don't recall any on First Neck Lane. That's more, that area of town was really built out in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and a more sort of relaxed, informal shingle style aesthetic was more prevalent then. So I'm not remembering any kind of like white classical buildings on First Neck Lane. So in that sense, I think this is kind of something to grapple with.
Is it out of keeping to introduce it into this particular neighborhood?
Well, I mean, not in the context of the village as a whole, but within that immediate neighborhood, I think that the landscape is more naturalistic. It's more about buildings that kind of blend in with the lakefront. That was the aesthetic then. This was not the Greek Revival period on First Neck Lane.
There is a house that's on the corner of Culver and First Neck that was
Would have been on
redone.
Hill Street.
No, on Culver and First
Oh,
Neck.
Culver, the
Yeah.
next block down.
The block
Big
away.
colonial.
Big colonial,
Two-story.
painted white,
two-story
right up
tile.
on the road.
Yeah.
And right up on.
Recently restored.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
this is a lot.
Five
that's-
bay, two-story, more
Exactly.
sort of late 18th, post-revolutionary.
This proposed house would sit about 200 feet back,
Mhm.
or about halfway on the lot, so
Yeah.
typically Greek revivals were forward.
Well, they're village houses, you
Yeah.
know, they enjoyed a street front.
Right.
Quite imposing, 3 stories with a belvedere in the middle. I mean, the whole point was like kind of making a classical statement. Whereas I think First Neck Lane, people were building closer to the lake and you didn't see the houses at first. These were more subdued and out of sight for the most part.
Brian, comments?
I find the house very interesting. You know, I think because of the size of the lot being close to 4 acres, and this sitting in the middle of it, and to hear that she's an art collector, that's sort of, I can understand why there's so many walls that are going to be used on the inside. It's almost like a museum piece. I have no objection with it at all. I think it's actually very attractive.
Esther?
I agree with Brian about the siting of the house. It's 200 feet back. I think the landscape plan is something that's going to have to be developed further, particularly given some of the neighbors' comments. But in terms of the aesthetic of the building, its proportions, I actually think it's rather lovely.
Ham?
Well, I think the sighting is key on the street. I think it's back quite a distance. I'd like to see a more detailed landscape plan, particularly with the neighbors that have come here tonight, at least one, on the southern side, I believe. Is that correct? That was the commenter on the pool
That is correct.
side. And then also, in Wyman's letter, I think he asked for specificity on the heights of the trees, calipers, or at least the height of the trees, so more detail on that. As far as the style of the house, I think it's handsome. I think it's very nice. I think it's balanced. Fenestration is good. Details are very nice. And again, Brian, I have to agree with you that the size of the house in relationship to the property is handsome. I think you've done a good job on your presentation. Other than some clarification on the landscape, the siting of the house is dead center on the property. It's not in the middle, but it's dead center and favored. I like it.
Thank you.
Christine?
Of course, I'm new to the application, but I think the style of the house is very pleasing and appropriate. I like the way it's situated on the lot. I agree with Esther. I'd like to see the landscaping plan expanded a little, but I think it looks good.
Thank you very much. If I may make a comment regarding the landscaping, Ms. Hammond is a landscape architect here, and we actually were applying just for the ARB, but Mrs. Wyman asked her just to give it some kind of
That's part of this
contextual.
process.
Yeah,
It's part of the
just-
process.
but it hasn't yet obviously been.
Understood. Well, we kind of
specified.
figured that out when we see on the landscape plan, large tree, small tree.
So are you
A
asking
little
for-
more definition than that
Are
would
you
be.
going to ask for an adjournment while you prepare a landscape plan, a formal landscape plan? Are you requesting one?
No, actually, I just wanted to clarify, given that it was brought up, but we were definitely planning to move forward. I was commissioned prior to Quincy, and we got a little bit more of a head start than she did, but she's planning to flush out and further
Okay,
specify.
I guess we'll make this very simple. We won't go forward unless we have a thorough and concrete landscape plan defining the height, specimen of trees and calipers, et cetera, and before going forward. It's just something that what happens is that becomes part of the application. You will not get a building permit if any portion of that has not been met. So therefore, we have to have that as part of the file and as a complete application.
Thank you.
I
Okay?
think you've got favorable reviews on the actual house itself. Let's see if we can improve the neighbors' privacy. The question I have, the gates that you show in your landscape plan, is that part of the application?
Yes.
We were
Do you have a separate application for the gates on the street side?
I see your gates there. I don't see it as part of the overall application. Did you file that separately?
I'm not sure, frankly.
Okay.
You need
Would
to
you
do that.
The
would
quick
you-
answer is no.
Yeah, I guess so.
You need to do that.
Would you like to get our opinion?
Oh,
on this?
absolutely, because if we come back again with landscape, I'd rather come in.
It needs, in my opinion, needs to be significantly more transparent and equal to a lot of the gates along that area. So I wouldn't be in favor of this at all.
We give
And
it.
I won't show it to the other
There's no
side.
reason, there's no reason to. It's not an open. It's not part of the application. Therefore, it's not a part of the record.
Okay, so therefore we'll come back with a gate.
I would show it to your neighbor so that she sees what we're talking
Is there
about.
any public comment in the application? Is anything further from the board?
Nope.
Good for the record.
Does the applicant have any questions?
Do you have any questions for the board?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you're requesting this board to adjourn so that you can finalize the application, correct? Our next meeting is the 12th, so January 12th.
Thank you very much. We'll be here.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 78 First Neck Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application is Glenn Halsey, 440 Wickapog, accessory pool house.
My name is Andy Schwinn. I'm the representative for the applicant on this, the builder.
Can you explain your project, Andy?
It's to construct an accessory pool house with all details that match the main house on the property. Same coloring, same trim details.
Cedar shingles, white
Yes.
trim.
Height of the structure
Just under 15 foot.
and the
Square
total
footage?
square footage of
700.
700. Board members, have you had the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Any very
No
modest?
No issues.
No issues, nothing aesthetically different, change from the existing structure, ties in and it's within keeping. I don't have any issue. So any public comment with the application? Application is located in the historic district and therefore requires written decision. So at our January 12th, I wish, 30 days. At our January 12th meeting, we will have our written decision at that time. Any questions?
No questions.
Motion to close the application for written
I
decision.
make a motion to close the application for 440 Wickapog Road for written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application is First Pasture, construction of additions. That one.
There's a couple of additional things, but it's basically small.
What are the differences in these compared to the file
Just,
set?
I have a couple of perspectives that I'm not sure were in the original application.
Okay. Can you be more specific on the differences?
No changes to the architecture, just a couple of drawings that might.
Same design, same
Yes,
style?
same design, same
Same
style,
material?
just-
You're just giving us a different angle?
Yes.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're the registered architect on the project?
I'm Oliver Pope.
Okay.
And I thought that rather than going through the whole book, I tagged a few drawings that are pertinent to what we're doing and see if.
Okay.
What tag do you want us to look at first?
All right, I think the easiest thing to do is just first look at the plan, which is the yellow tag.
Can we go to 3D?
You can go straight to 3D if you want
Great,
to.
okay. You have existing and proposed, which pretty much sums up the application,
Right.
correct? Okay.
We are,
I don't have any issues with
we're
this.
proposing to,
Cleaned up.
the application is to extend the garage, extend the porch, deepen the porch by 3 feet all the way around on the side, both the south and the east. All of this is well screened behind layers of hedge, and I don't think any of it's really visible from the
Are
street.
any of the additions greater than a couple of hundred square feet, or changes, I should say?
I have a data sheet at the end.
Increasing the
We're
area of-
increasing 484 square feet of
Structure.
In total?
In
Yeah,
total, right?
yeah.
Okay.
What about the accessory structure?
The
Self-elevations?
the accessory structure is existing,
Okay.
and I think we're rotating it so that there are a pair of barn doors on one end. We're going to rotate them so that they.
But it's staying in
face the
position,
side.
right?
Yes.
Okay. When you say rotating, it's not moving forward on the property or backward?
Doing 180 degree.
Okay, you're spinning it?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Brian, comments?
No, I think it's a good enhancement to the house. The house is all chopped up, and now it's not going to be.
Esther?
I think the presentation is extremely helpful, and I think it's a huge improvement. It really finishes it up nicely. It's quite handsome.
Christine?
Looks like an improvement to me.
Pam?
Cleaning up, it's nice. All improvements are good, that I'm saying.
In keeping, cleaning up, everyone had the same adjectives.
Do you want one of these
Zach,
back?
any comments?
No issues, it's not a contributing structure, so
Any public comment on the application?
You sure?
I'll take them if you want to keep one for the record. I'll
We have
take
two
the
for the
rest,
record.
and then you don't have to throw them away.
So you can have back.
Application is located in the historic district and therefore requires written decision. We'll have we have a lot going on, so we hope it's ready by the next meeting. Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion to close 260 First Neck Lane for written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Concludes our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
Mr. Chair, Leland and Jared Abrams, 107 Wickapop, single-family dwelling.
Good evening, Mayor Ron Talley, McDonough Conway Architects. Mr. Chairman, I have new elevations and 2 new renderings that I would like to present to the board based on the previous comments.
What's changed?
All right, in our previous meeting, the board suggested the 3 items. The 3 changes, the 3 major changes are the window over the front entrance, the transom is omitted now, and there is an alignment with all the windows on the 2nd floor. And number 2, the shutters are all taken out. We took out the shutters. Didn't make sense to have the shutters and the transoms. I took up on the suggestion of the board. And number 3, we added the Yankee gutters, which should be slightly shown on that rendering. As you see, there's a thin line at the eave line of the roofs that shows that. Also on the 11 by 17s that I just presented, the details shown for that gutter. And it may not be fully clear on the rendering, but the detail would be a part of the plans.
Okay. Brian?
No, I think he did everything that we asked him to do. I think it's a big improvement.
Yep.
I think he captured it all. Let's go around.
Esther?
I was not here for the previous one, but I think it looks good.
Cam?
Did everything we asked for. I still not sure about the shed split. Meeting that with
Christine, no, you were
I
not
like the Yankee
here.
gutters and the extended eaves are very nice.
Thank you.
Consistent with the neighborhood.
I don't know what the improvements were, but it looks good.
Been responsive.
It's a huge improvement.
Thank you. The board, it's good.
Okay. Yeah, there were several, I believe there were 3 different recommendations before the board over 3 different meetings. This is the final result, so you've seen the best of the best.
Thank you.
Any
As
issue?
is appropriate.
It's appropriate.
Thank
You've
you.
done everything we've asked.
Thank you very much.
Check by check, so at this point, I believe that we can move forward and approve the application.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
My name is Duran Phillips Flynn. I live at 145 Wickapog Road, a few houses down from this property, and I just wanted to go on record one more time in opposition that, 1, this historical house is being torn down, and 2, that it's being replaced with a house that is so massive and out of style with keeping with that historical scene on Wickapog Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Leland and Jared Abrams at 107 Wickapog Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application, Mr. Chair, is 320 Murray Place, which originally fell under the moratorium. There's a notice from the Board of Trustees for an exemption under local law number 4. Resolved that based on all the information presented in board's inspection of the neighborhood, the Board of Trustees find the application at 320 Murray Place exemption from the moratorium with respect to premises at 320 Meadow, blah, blah, blah.
Murray.
Murray.
What's that?
You said
Murray.
Meadow.
Yeah. Whatever.
Can I proceed? Very quickly. John Bennett, the applicant, and Timothy Haynes, the project architect, is with me this evening, as well as Melissa Dedovich. The matter was the subject of 2 hearings before this board, and I think it's fair to say that most of the comments were site plan related comments. We did obtain, as Mr. Hoag read, an exemption from the trustees from the flood area moratorium. This board, as part of that process, was kind enough to submit a letter to the trustees, which I believe was supportive of the design. So we're here to present or answer any questions, but only if you think that is necessary, given the fact that there have been 2 prior hearings. And if not, after you entertain public comment, we would appreciate you taking action on the matter. So I'm here to answer any questions, but only if the board wants them. I know you've had a long hearing calendar.
John, have there been any changes on the application in terms of fenestration, height, width, anything?
None whatsoever.
Thank you.
There's photos of the model as well as the some elevations.
Refresher, if you can turn that to the camera and to the audience.
Sure. The elevations and photographs of the model, which had previously been before the board on the 2 prior hearings.
Thank you for providing the mock-up, the landscape mock-up, and the
Oh, yeah.
screening. It was very helpful to me and to all of us, I guess. We were all out there on the site. It showed not just a gesture, but a true caring of the protection of I felt, the protection of the neighbors and the softness of the house and so forth.
For whatever it's worth, I think there were, as part of the moratorium exemption hearing, letters of support from 15 neighbors.
Uh-huh, okay.
Is there any public comment on the application? Step forward.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Diane Leverrier. I'm the attorney that represents John Sullivan. He's the adjacent property owner to the west of the property. Ms. Crawford, Mr. Sullivan's daughter, wanted to be here, but she couldn't make it. The transportation was canceled due to the inclement weather. So I'm here to submit comments on her behalf. I also have a letter. I was reviewing the application, and I understand that this board is concerned with aesthetics. And as you know, my client has had numerous objections to the height of the application. We feel that the height of the building, regarding the application. We feel that the height of a structure this large is something that really needs to be looked at closely by this board from an aesthetic perspective. Height of something this large affects everything. It affects landscaping, it affects the structure, it affects fencing, etc. The issue with regard to the application, as I reviewed, and I appreciate the administrative assistant giving us copies of everything that we had requested. It was a huge file. It was a lot of surveys, etc. But in going through the application, particularly with regard to the height issue, the elevation plan that was submitted and that was just shown to the board shows an average existing grade of 12 feet. Pursuant to to Section 116-12 of the Code of the Village of Southampton, it requires that the average elevation of the existing natural grade be certified by a licensed surveyor. The reason why we raise this is because if you look at the survey itself, there's a topography, and it shows that there's an average grade or an approximate grade, a topographic line showing 12 feet at the southernmost portion of the property. If you go further north on the property, it goes up to about 18 feet. The concern is that the property may not need to be elevated to the height that it's being elevated at if the average elevation of the existing natural grade is slightly higher. In addition to that, the concern for the applicant and the reason why the height has to be raised 15 plus 2 feet is to obviously comply with the FEMA regulations. However, if you look at the cross-section and the existing grade that was provided by the applicant, it shows not only the elevation of the home being raised by the 15 feet plus 2, which is the additional 2 that you need for ductwork and mechanicals, et cetera, under the residence, but it then shows an additional 3 feet. So you're actually getting you actually have 5 feet from the FEMA elevation of 15, an additional 5 feet that's being added, perhaps unnecessarily, to the height of the residence that may not be needed. So I think that the application should be revised or amended to show the average elevation of the existing natural grade certified by a licensed surveyor. I see there was a survey provided, but the elevation plan that was submitted by the architect. And in addition, I think that this board should look into the issue of whether the additional 3 feet that is proposed by the applicant to raise the height 3 feet above the required FEMA elevation is necessary. And again, I mean, when you're looking at aesthetics and you're looking at a structure of this size from an aesthetic perspective in terms of the elevation, et cetera, the impact on the surrounding residents, I think it behooves the board to look at that, especially in terms of its compliance with the Code of the Village of Southampton. And I have some correspondence in that regard as well.
Okay, you can hand those in to be stamped in.
You want that stamped in for the record?
Yes, she does. That's what she's doing.
How many copies?
1 copy.
Oh.
2's always better.
Actually, no, I'll get my copy stamped as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebuttal?
Easy enough. This is in the floodplain, and we're taking our jumping off point from the base floodplain elevation plus 2. So the height of the average natural grade is actually an irrelevancy. I've been dealing with this for about 3 or 4 months now. was the entire subject of the 40 Meadow Lane litigation, which so far it's essentially the argument that was made by the objectants to 40 Meadow Lane. And so far, that has been...
You're taking it off the floodplain, right?
Yeah, we're taking it off the
Okay,
floodplain.
thank you.
So the
That's
average
it.
elevation...
Thanks, John.
Thank you, that's all.
Any more public comment?
Do you understand that?
I do understand the
Thank you.
floodplain, and I believe I addressed it. However, I think that the average elevation, the base floodplain, you're looking at something from the base flood elevation. I think it's unclear here in terms of what the base flood elevation is vis-a-vis the natural grade and the need to add the additional 3 feet to comply with the FEMA requirements. I think it's worth adjourning the application to take a look into whether that additional 3 feet is necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My comments are the same. There's no need to do that. As a matter of fact, there have been many instances where 9, 10, 11, 12 feet of fill have been brought into sites in the flood zone. For example, the Dean House next to the 40 Meadow Lane house, the original elevation was 6. It ended up, pursuant to Ed Hollander plan, at 15 feet. So these are arguments that can just be dismissed out of hand.
John, what's the issue about the 3 feet, though?
I have no idea.
I think that
What they're saying is
there's
they can
a
bring the
height
house
variation
down.
in the building, which I think is architecturally interesting. I mean, I think that's what,
I like it.
I'd much rather see that than just a flat roof all
Yes,
the way
exactly.
across, and I think that's what keeps the mass in line.
And not only
I don't
that,
have an issue.
this height issue was the very basis of the issue
Of the
before the
mock-up.
trustees. Oh,
Yeah.
before the trustees as well. So that, to the extent that arguments are being made, those are arguments that, the building inspector obviously vetted this, went past it, and the trustees gave all the necessary height relief. So why are we even arguing this right now?
I'm not arguing, I'm just asking.
I mean, no, I say that rhetorically.
Could you address where this 3 feet is coming from?
I'd
Is it
appreciate
on
it.
the documents?
The, do you have a copy of the plan?
It's not up to me to help you. I'm a lawyer. It's not my job to make the other guy's job easier.
Well, it is a public
All right,
hearing
guys.
after
All
all,
right.
so if
All
you're
right.
showing something to the public.
Play fair in the sand.
The issue is, if you have a copy of the application in front of you, you'll see the copy of the elevation plan. The elevation plan
On the
shows.
survey, correct?
Not on the survey.
The
Different.
elevations.
Okay.
The elevation.
There's a difference between a surveyor and an architect. The architect shows the average existing grade where they're starting from at 12 feet. In order to comply with the FEMA requirements, the residence has to begin at a height which is 15 feet above the base flood elevation. So they add the applicant adds an additional 5 feet to comply with the FEMA flood zone elevation plus 2, which is the additional footage that you need in order to have freeboard and to have the mechanicals and the ductwork underneath. There's an additional 3 feet to the finished floor elevation that is not necessary to comply with the FEMA requirements. And in addition to that, the village's own code says that the average elevation of the existing natural grade, where you're starting from, it has to be certified by a licensed surveyor. And the reason is because people want to be sure and have specificity with regard to where things are being constructed, how high they're going to be. You can say average existing grade is 12 feet. What does that mean? You have a licensed surveyor go out there who's already done the topography
John,
of
who
the site.
identified your,
It doesn't
your
matter
height?
because we're not taking the jumping off flood zone. We take from base flood.
John, your
So
point
then
is-
why do you need the extra 3 feet to get up to 20?
Hold it. Your point is that you're taking this from a floodplain that doesn't change, that's static. Is that correct?
It's a
So
regulatory
that any of the soils or fills that are currently on the property should be ignored. Is that correct?
They don't.
Okay.
It's part of
That's
the
what I thought.
construction. They're entitled to have it. And that's
There's
making
entitlement
it
to have it. Your argument in part is
See how it
perhaps
pops
that
up?
they
It would just
could,
be straight
in
across
fact,
if it wasn't.
lower the house
It's an
No, she's saying
architectural
that from-
above
she's saying
base plane as it is. I'm not sure if it's clear.
I'm saying that the rationale for,
It doesn't need to
Actually
be,
took 3 feet off the allowable height.
right?
She's saying no. She's saying from the
bottom,
bottom.
Brian.
From the bottom is she's saying up the plus 2. She's saying there's an additional 3 that's on the elevations from the base.
has an additional 3.
And we took 3 feet off the allowable height. They could have been 27 feet tall, and its highest point is 24. The physical height of the house.
get closer to the mic, please? It doesn't help if you can't point to the document and tell us where the 3 feet is. Can you see anything there, Curtis, that says added 3 feet?
I see 15
I-
plus 2.
can I,
Let her
can
see
I
the,
just take a look at what you're looking at and I can point it out to
You
you?
certainly can.
were these comments from the trustees?
I was retained like a few days before the trustees meeting, so,
Were
So is
these
the answer
comments
to
made
that
from the
no?
trustees?
the issues with regard to the height of the building were
No, the
certainly
3
raised to the
feet,
tru-
the
to
3
the
feet issue,
trustees.
was that addressed by the trustees?
The 3 feet issue had not been raised at the trustee meeting. Okay, but in as much as this board's role is to deal with the aesthetics
We're not
of
worried
the
about that, I
building.
just had a
The
simple
aesthetic,
question. Was
yeah.
it proposed to the trustees, and the answer is no.
Correct. Yeah, if you look
That's what it-
here,
yeah.
okay, it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
If you look here, where he has the average existing grade, which
Mhm.
isn't certified by a surveyor, the average existing grade, and then you have FEMA AE 15 plus 2. So he's showing you that we're raising it, we're starting here, we're gonna raise it to 17 feet, which is where you need to start to comply with FEMA. You have your FEMA 15, and then you have your plus 2 for your freeboard and for all your mechanicals, et cetera. But then there's an additional, then it goes up to 20 feet, and it shows your finished floor elevation at 20 feet. What is that additional
So what
3
you're
feet
saying is
for,
that they're-
other than to make the building higher for the applicant's
what
own
you're saying is
purposes,
that
not
the
to comply
building-
with FEMA?
Or what you're saying is that the building at some point is going to be corrected to raise the elevation, or is that the elevation that's as being proposed could be lower?
It could be lower, it could be 3 feet lower.
Okay.
So
And how tall could the building be?
Well, that
How
would
tall
be
does it say the building, that if we're gonna follow through if they build up?
the building, well, let's see. Well,
Tim,
it
what you're
still has a
suggesting is that
44-foot
you take
height.
into control.
No, let's be truthful here. 24 feet is the building.
It could be 27.
Could be 27.
No, because you're starting from the top of the finished floor at 20 feet, so you're starting here from 20 feet, which is 3 feet higher than where you need to be.
Slow down.
Actually, it's 3 feet plus 24 feet, which is 27 feet.
The client
And
took
the-
3 feet off of the house.
And what is
Instead
a
of having
flat roof
27
house
foot
allowed to be?
Allowed to be.
27 feet.
27
One,
feet.
Thank you.
one speaker at a time, please.
First of all,
John.
Okay, if I may.
One at a
sorry.
time.
Have you, okay,
I believe I've made the point. I've also submitted correspondence, and I think that the average
Can you-
elevation of the
can you wait
natural
just a
grade
second?
should
He
be
made a-
certified by our
he-
licensed surveyor.
Yeah, I know, he made a very good.
He made a very
point.
good, valid point.
That the allowable height of the house is 27 feet, so even with your argument,
He's at
that fits
24.
within the 27. Well, it's 24 now, the extra 3 would be 27.
So we understand where you're coming from, it's just that by having,
There's no argument,
But you're starting from average existing grade, and where this average existing grade has not been certified by a surveyor, you don't know if it's 12 feet, or it's 13 feet, or it's 14 feet, or it's 15
and
feet.
counsel for,
The average
and
natural
opposing
grade.
counsel has stated that they started at base
Floodplain.
floodplain. That's
But the
the
height of the building starts from average natural grade.
If the architect were to correct that and say that starts at base average.
What she's saying is that a
I think it should
licensed
be corrected.
surveyor.
I think if that's the base point that they're starting from, then the base flood elevation should be shown on these elevation plans, and it should be certified by a surveyor. The base
17
flood
FEMA
elevation.
AE 15 plus 2. And let me tell you something else, if I may. We're talking about height. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this in the Ferrara case, in which height is not within your control.
I
We
understand.
comply with the height. Why are we even talking about this? The jumping off point for a house in the flood zones is the
John.
base planation plus 2. We don't exceed the height limit. As a matter of fact,
The large majority of the house is well beneath that, so that the house is undulated. This is.
We went out there
John, we're
onto the
talking about
site.
height. Wait a minute. We're
Okay.
talking about height because I asked the question
Oh, I'm
to try
sorry.
and understand
us.
what council is saying. Thank you.
No, yell at him.
No, I meant the we rhetorically.
I understand that, but I'm trying to understand what the issue is with council, why she keeps referring to the average grade when we're talking about the datum from FEMA. That's where the building starts. Grade doesn't have anything to do with it.
Then they add an additional 3 feet.
Well, they could have added
for
4
whatever
or
reason.
5,
We
but
don't
I'm
even
trying to understand if they did add it, why they did add it.
And Brian, from the aesthetic, you were saying?
From an aesthetic point, which our board governs, all of us went to the site with a mock-up out there showing the height of the house and all its different variations, and we were all fine with it.
And it's legal.
There's a flaw in the application. I think it should be left open to correct that flaw.
No, there's no flaw in the application.
Is that our plan?
Sorry? Oh.
Can we have our plan back?
Tim, is there a 3-foot gap in here somewhere?
Let's assume for the purposes of argument that there is.
I'm just trying to say.
I don't
is
know
there or
where it
there
is,
not?
but let's assume for the purpose of the argument it is. This is not a house.
I understand that, John.
That's on a
John,
lot outside of the.
I understand that. Tim, is there a 3-foot something in missing here, or?
No, FEMA 15 plus 2.
Right, that's 17.
Then there's a 27-foot height limit for a
Right.
flat roof house.
Okay.
We decided to make the house 24 feet and use 3 feet to come up with the ground floor up 3
Okay,
feet.
all right.
So that it was our discretion to say, we'll take
So you
lower
started
ceilings.
at the top and worked down.
Got it. And so that's what we did.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was our understanding of it.
Right.
My understanding, too.
Any more public comment? Board members, is there any other questions that we have?
Understand that?
We have the decision from the village board with regards to.
The trustees.
The trustees.
Those trustees.
With regards to the height issue, we did a site visit to look at the overall height, and we determined that it was not, I'm sorry, Christine, you were not
No.
present during this meeting, so let me just update you on the progression of this application. In the midst of the application is when the moratorium took place, in which case this board requested that they go to the trustees to get an exemption from the height requirement based on the application fitting within. Means we've actually gone and did a site visit. We found it to be within keeping. We gave a letter of recommendation to the village board, stating that we were in favor of the board granting the exemption. There are no issues with regards to the aesthetics before this board, so now we're just hearing the application officially. Since the height has already been predetermined, and we're looking to move forward on the application. Do you have any questions?
No.
Is there anything further from the board? Is there
Yes,
anything?
just that the landscape be a part of the permanent record on this application.
Correct.
Within the written decision.
Correct. Anything further from the applicant? All right, motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve 320 Murray Place LLC.
Oh, by the way, there is no written decision, it's not in the historic
It's not
district.
historic.
If you wish or requesting that there should be because of any pending or possible litigation, then we can request it at the
I'm
council.
requesting a written decision.
Council,
Excuse me, if I may be heard on that, please. This is an application we're moving towards.
no one's saying that we're not going to approve the application, just that it is
This
formally in
evening.
writing.
This
Correct.
evening.
Thank you.
Well, that was my concern.
Okay. Motion to approve the application.
I make a motion, again, to approve the application for 320 Murray Place LLC.
Second.
All in favor? Council, if you can present the reasons and the,
Now, do you want a written decision, John?
I don't think we need one. But that's.
just so we have one in file.
I think
with the specifics.
since this property is subject to an exemption, it should be a written
Well,
decision.
does that mean I can still file them for my building application?
Apparently so.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
great, okay.
Apparently so. You're not holding it up for the written decision,
No.
correct?
No,
Oh, okay, fine.
for the record.
Thank you.
Next application is Lucy Bushman, 437 Hill.
Terrence McKean, representing Will Manier, architect. Just a little recap. Proposing a shingle-style gambrel house, 5,300 square feet, with red Danish blend bricks, cedar shingles, and white trim. As per the board, we removed the second-story deck, terrace, and we used a low-line hip roof. As per the public comment, we proposed a 14-foot hemlock buffer and to push the house back an additional 10 feet to the actual 75-foot setback. And we're seeking for approval.
You just went down a checklist of every request that the board and the community had for you, correct?
Correct.
And you
Why?
took under consideration moving an addition beyond 10 feet, and you said no, correct?
Correct. It's 75 feet. It's a 40-foot setback to begin with. So,
Brian, comments?
No, Esther and I went to the site today and took a look around and felt that, you know, moving the house back the 10 feet that you agreed to do was more than enough to screen this house from any of the neighbors.
Esther?
As Brian said, we did go down and we really took a look at it very carefully. I mean, in the best of all possible worlds, it would be wonderful if you could move it back, but we can certainly understand that you've already compromised and agreed to move the house back 10 feet. And I think with appropriate screening, it should be fine. I have no issues with the design.
Christine, I know you.
No, I
first time-
haven't had a chance to go to this.
I don't have any issues with this application as it stands now.
Any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
And this one I would do a written decision on as well,
Mhm.
since there's a litigation going on.
Hi, I'm Ann Pine, neighbor to the west, two properties adjoining. I just wanted to get a couple things straight, just because I didn't look at the file recently. What is the width and length of the house?
the actual, well, the house itself is about 60 feet deep, and the overall width of the house.
Fine, you said you didn't have the opportunity to see?
Well, I did once, but when I multiplied the width and length, I got something that didn't fit with the square footage. That's why I was curious. I was just questioning that.
And are you asking the square footage of the building, or?
Well, it didn't match with my multiplication of the width and length, so I was wondering why that was.
The garage?
Of the building, though, or the property?
The building.
The building, okay.
Yeah. I realize, I would like to ask Mr. Robinson a question, and all of you. This board does not concern itself with garages, but that seems to be.
You're referring to square footage, and the square.
I'm referring to, well, go ahead and ask me what your question is.
Your math is based on the garage square footage, correct? Added into the overall envelope of the house.
I just measured the length, and I multiplied the length and width, and I multiplied it by 2. And I got something like 7,000 square feet, and I thought that was way off.
So this board is only interested in the appearance?
The appearance.
The aesthetic.
The size.
Exactly.
So if you're, not square footage, you understand something. That's
Okay.
something entirely different. Square footage.
Okay.
And how it looks, two separate things altogether.
All right. But the garage would include how it looks, according to your definition.
So what you're saying is based on the garage and the entire envelope of the house, it's big. Or
Yes, I'm saying that the garage is perhaps why I came up with this figure, that I know you're not interested in square footage, but you are interested in mass.
Correct.
And the garage is visual mass. And
But
so
the applicant
perhaps,
has the applicant has as of right envelope to build a home on this lot, and that as of right envelope is being adhered to.
that is a subject for, I think, the zoning board. It's not part of this village code, but I don't want to dwell on that. I just wanted to understand if I was correct. It's what, 60 by 55 feet?
Correct. It's yeah, it's about 60 feet deep
Mhm.
and 66
All right, and how large is the flat roof section? Because you described it as a gambrel roof.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Because it has, I think, a very large flat roof.
You're talking about orientating along the ridge lines as opposed to porch roofs, right?
I don't understand that question.
I mean, it's just an estimate. It's 8,000 square feet.
So it has a large section of it is a flat roof. So what I want to do is just present some things to be stamped in. I don't really want to argue them. I just want to present them. I'm going to give a list of the mass of the 8 contiguous houses, 5 of which are in the historic district. This is 2 to 4 times the mass of those houses.
And if I may interrupt, this house is not in the historic district.
I understand that. I just said 8, all contiguous properties. 5 are in the historic district, so they are impacted to some degree because they have a different, vocabulary. But it is 2 to 4 times the mass of all contiguous properties. And I believe that as the ARB, I know I'm not here HP tonight, very clear about that. As the ARB, you need to deal with harmony of mass. That is in your code. So I'm not going to win here, but I'm going to submit these articles. Now, in terms of lot coverage, do you have the lot coverage of this that I could just write on here?
I don't have the title with me. It's in the actual file itself.
Okay. Well,
do you have any issues of the aesthetics of this building as it is right now?
I have issues that relate to your code, which is about harmony.
Okay. What about the aesthetics of the structure?
Well,
itself?
yes, the roof design is not harmonious with any of the other roof designs. They all have pitched roofs with no flat sections. I think that the monolithic block is dissimilar from maybe 6 of the 8 properties, and the 2 that are monolithic without a variation in scale are very much smaller. I have an issue with the line of the building is different from the line of all the others, which go up and down, and I don't know what line means. Maybe you all could tell me. Visually, what does line mean when you read it in your code?
Are you saying LIE?
LINE. LIE is something else.
That it is.
I mean, I read style, line, and mass, and material in your code.
I think line refers to profile.
Yes, so in this sense, the profile is different from all but 2 of the others,
Lay
which...
of the line, to be specific.
Excuse me?
The lay of the line. That's how it-
Okay, the lay of the line. So this would be different. It is also has a larger percent of lot coverage than all of the others. I don't have that, but I have the others, so you could stamp that for me. Thank you.
No.
And I have a zoning map that shows other large lots in this area that could be developed with 6,000 square foot houses, and I think that's serious for this area between Moses and Corrigan, which prior to 483 Hill Street and 45 Moses Lane would have been totally, basically this area is changing radically. 2 houses, double the mass, and I object to the way it was changed, the way compatibility or harmony, that's your word here, is no longer probably possible. With this, and I have a serious question about the code, Mr. Robinson. 2 weeks ago and a month ago, I heard you say that you had no jurisdiction over placement on the lot.
Lot placement.
Lot placement. And in your code, it clearly says that you are charged to reject lot placement if you do not find it harmonious. Are you willing to correct this statement that you keep making?
About the house placement within the lot?
Yes.
Okay, you do realize the applicants shifted the house over?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about vocabulary. It's very hard to stand up here when you all have developed one vocabulary and the code has another. And Mr. Highsmith apparently either didn't know or I'm mistaken that you could influence, if you wished, the lot, the placement of the house on the lot. If you found...
On this application.
But I'm going after a theory here. You have the right to do this.
Ann, could I give you a little perspective?
Sure.
There certainly is, in terms of the language and the words, somewhat of a conflict between the two sections.
Which two sections?
Between the area setback requirements of the code and part of the architectural code that you're referring to regarding the board with regard to placement of structures on the property. This board has taken the position previously that as far as the stated mathematical provisions of the code, it does not have the power to alter the zoning code. What happened in this situation was sort of exemplary of what the board has tried to do, and that is that you had raised the objection as to proximity of the house to your lot, I think.
With no possible screening, not proximity, lack of possibility of screening.
That is another issue, but you had raised the issue of proximity. The board approached the applicant and asked if the applicant would consider relocating the house, which the applicant did. And so the board, to some extent, gave deference to the provision in the code about placement of the lot. It did the best it could. We don't believe, that, and the courts have told us, that the board doesn't have the power to alter the statistics, but it's certainly got the power of persuasion and request, which it exercised. So there's a little bit of conflict there, and that happens in many statutes in many respects.
Well, I think this will probably be resolved. I just want to go on the record that Mr. Highsmith has twice said he had no power, even if he wished it, and that is in error as I see it. I'm not talking about the FAR because there's hundreds of feet this can be moved without interfering with FAR. Nor am I saying I want more. I think these things...
Thank you for pointing it out.
Okay, good. And I feel the same way with the word mass.
Okay.
That is not paid attention to here, as in this instance. And I'm going to submit these pictures of the contiguous houses, and which illustrates their difference architecturally and visually with the proposed new construction in terms of roof design, line, and mass. And I just want this on record that this is not a harmonious house in relation to its 8 neighbors. And I also want to address the fact that for those of us who are in the historic district bordering this house, this denigrates our properties because we have lots just as big, and we cannot build these kind of houses. And our property had value of a certain amount with everyone else near it. It has less when the neighborhood changes and we can't. And I'm talking about the visual neighborhood. So I thank you for the screening. I would like a landscape architect to assert that 10 feet is enough to, and I don't care where the house is, the 10 feet is enough to accommodate hemlocks as well as the trees that we have there, which we don't want to cut down because they afford screening and they have big roots, and we only have 4 feet to screen. So I would like a landscape architect to assert that when hemlocks grow, that the root system, and when they're put in, will not cut the root system of our existing trees. I think I have pictures of that.
Thank you.
Because I think 10 feet is skimpy. I saw you do it with 487 Hill Street, allowing too little space around those, I can't remember what kind of trees they are, and they couldn't get planted with the roots, or those lindens would fall over. So the little circles are often not, from a landscape architecture point of view, valid. So that's all I would ask. I would like to have a landscape architect look at this and tell us if this is 10 feet is adequate space for the kind of trees they want to put in as their roots grow and as they grow and when they're planted with the roots of the trees that are there now.
Would you accept that in written form from a landscape architect who's reviewed this plan and on site?
I would.
Okay. Thank you. Would you be willing to provide that from a landscape architect and that could be put in the
I'd
file?
prefer my own landscape architect and yours. I mean, I think we could have 2 opinions here.
Okay, we're moving in a direction.
Yeah.
if you could relay communications with regards to your landscape plan being that the specimens will be able to survive, and they will not.
And my trees survive.
They will not intrude on her trees or her tree root system. Are you able
Put
to
that as
prepare
part
that
of the file.
as part of either an arborist, an arborist letter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Okay,
further,
Ann.
any further public comment?
Thank you for your, Ann, thank you for your information in the file. Appreciate it. Thank you for research and information.
Well.
Okay?
Anything further from the public? Anything further from the board?
No.
Board feels that is a sufficient, I'm sorry, that the request of a neighbor's letter from an arborist is something that can hold up a approval on this application? Or do you think as part of the application, the applicant can provide that within the amount of time, and will not be a part of the receiving of any C of O until that's part of the application?
I think this should be in a written decision, it should be part of the file.
I would agree.
Right.
Due to the nature of this, yes.
Council, where this board wishes this application be in writing. No, it's not in the historic district, but because of the nature of it, so we'll close the application for this evening. And we'll ask that you put the.
Well, if you got further submission coming in, you should hold it open until the submission is submitted.
Unless it's specifically for a.
If.
Go ahead.
He's asking, well, if we close the application, he could still submit a new material for.
If you close it
request.
subject to the submission of that material,
Correct.
yes.
Right.
But that material then doesn't have the opportunity to be vetted in front of the board.
Question is, any other material outside of his requirement, we're trying to close the application so that there's.
If the document satisfies the board, but you'll have to discuss that, you'll have to receive it and discuss it at a public hearing as to whether or not it's satisfactory.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so council's requesting therefore that the application remain open. We'll adjourn for this evening with the accepting of your information at our next meeting, which is the 12th of January. And at that time, we will close the application.
So you're asking for an adjournment so that you can get the file completed with the requested letter from an.
You know, I don't see that absolutely necessary. This is something that is done every day. I mean, it's typically never a problem. We're going above and beyond, you know, to
No one
provide.
disagrees with that.
We're not disagreeing with you.
We have been advised by council that we keep the application open because there's pertinent information that you're going to provide before this board, which quite frankly needs to be approved before this board before we finalize our decision.
So with that letter that you're going to put in the file, are you asking for an adjournment until our next meeting of January 12th?
Well, I would like approval on it with the stipulation that we will have that letter included into the file.
Yes would be a better answer.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, good.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn?
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 437 Hill Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application,
Next
please.
application is Barbara Wilson, 165 Elm Street, for second floor rear deck and outside staircase.
Good evening. I didn't realize that there was apparently some concerns by my neighbors, so I would ask for an adjournment. Unlike many cases here, I prefer, if they're willing, to sit down and speak
Wonderful.
as neighbors and
Good.
see if we can come up with a plan
Say that
that
one more
everyone will be
time.
satisfied with.
You say that one more
Really
time.
good.
Work with your neighbors?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
good
you,
idea.
Barbara. We
If
appreciate
that's
that.
acceptable to them, certainly if everybody wants to be heard this evening, that's fine with me too.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just request an adjournment to the 12th.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Hearing that, is there any public comment?
It'll be
You would have to come forward if you want to make a comment. Your name for the record?
Kevin Finnegan, 175 Elm Street. So this will be adjourned, held over to another meeting
January 12th.
January 12th.
January 12th.
Right.
And in which
And-
time she's looking to reach out to you and any other neighbor that has any opposition to this application to be neighborly.
Okay. I'll go on with that.
That sounds wonderful, thank you.
For the record, I had abstained from this, voting on this. I have no issues on voting for or against it on this application, and I'm happy that the neighbors are talking about the application in a productive way.
Okay. Motion to approve.
I'm
applicant's-
present on the 12th. I'll
Motion to
be
approve
voting.
applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 165 Elm Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Good luck.
evening, everyone.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Next application is Mark and Andrea Polsky, 145 Breeze Lane.
Good evening. For the applicant, John Bennett and Reed, and Alexander Ladermo is here with me. He's the project architect. I'm going to let him present, do a better job than I will, but one thing I do want to hand out for you is, at the last meeting, Mr. Hoag asked for some photographs of the surrounding houses in the neighborhood. So what we've done is we have an aerial, and they're keyed into the houses in the neighborhood. B, the second photograph is the subject parcel. So one of the things that we didn't have here the last time was the existing front elevation. So there it is. And, oh, well, what do you think? Zach, I don't want to give you one, but I just don't want to give you that last one.
Here's Zach.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's in there. Here we go.
Good evening, I'm Alex Perdomo. Here to talk about, I guess, the objection over the window that we're proposing. We're proposing a circular window over in the second story. I'm not sure if we have the drawings from last week, but the drawings. This is the circular window that we're proposing, which I believe is in keeping with the style of the house.
You say it's in keeping with the style of the
The
house?
shingle style of the house and also the neighborhood.
You have a photo of another house that mimics that circular design?
I do have it in my tablet, but I don't have.
Sorry?
I have my tablet. I don't have a hard copy of it.
Where is the house, Alex?
So there's been no changes to the design of the house?
No change to the design of the house whatsoever. I think Mr. Hoag wanted to see the neighborhood, and also I wasn't able at the last time to present you a copy of the existing facade that we have now.
Which is
Just staying the same.
So the house currently has.
I understand.
And he wants to change it.
Okay, just a second. Let me ask you a question about the window, the
Yes.
proposed window that you're putting in. It's a four-light is that sitting on a received pedestal of some type?
It's not. It's a two-story living room, so it would be.
Is it set back from the plane?
From the interior side. In the front facade, it is. It's recessed. As you
First of
see
all,
it.
I think we need different AutoCADs on this. It's very difficult to tell dimension on this, which is
Okay.
why I think you're asking the question you're asking.
Well, the argument could be said that the dimension is the existing photograph, but the pair of windows are adjacent to each other.
Right, we're still keeping
And
the
that's-
same.
We spoke about that last time, and essentially, there's two fundamental things with this plan. One is the entrance has been shifted over on the plan significantly to the left side.
That's correct.
Okay? And so I would agree with you that if this window were to stay, if that were static, but it throws the whole plan off. So I think that a three-dimensional in this case probably would make sense, John, that shows how, if you look at this, are you looking at the same plan?
Yeah. Let me ask you something. If I can cut to the chase for a second. What if the applicant were to change this window, the circular window? I saw that as sort of the sticking point the last time. So if
Still
that's
is.
something, if that's something the board would consider, Alex?
I have an alternate.
Okay, why don't we show the alternate plan?
Okay, good.
Got large size drawings.
Much better.
To answer your question, is this rounded piece set back in?
It is, well, I guess, were you referring to the facade itself? The facade still recessed as you see it on the existing picture. So we're just basically replacing those windows with a circular window.
In the same plane?
In the same plane, exactly.
Okay, but the entrance is shifting
That's right.
over?
South. That's right.
And what is the purpose of, that's an architectural element that you have, is that correct?
Yes.
And this is the option?
That would be the alternate to replacing the circular window with a rectangular window. The window cannot be longer than, wider than 3 feet right now because of the second floor configuration, so.
What are they, side panels?
Yes.
Why?
I'm playing with this scale. I didn't want to
definitely playing
have,
with it.
I'm sorry?
Is there any way you can bring those side panels in a little bit? And from visually from here, just they look like oversized shutters. It's
Okay.
kind of hard again, and they go back to what Esther said. It's kind of difficult to look at a one-dimensional photo and see. Did you see them, John? No, you didn't.
I'm going to request really better rendered drawings that are really three-dimensional. These are very difficult to
The side
see.
panels on the top there.
Oh, I
John.
see.
Very
You see them?
misleading.
The thing is, when you do place a single window like that size, it kind of get lost on the elevation. So I'm trying to play with scale and massing. So that's why I felt like we needed some side panels
I
to
think you-
counterbalance.
Okay. I don't really have any issue if it's explained better of the dimension of the circular window where it sits. I'd just like to see how it's actually visualized. That was my issue to day one.
It looks like overall we're going to need something a little bit more three-dimensional just to give a sense of depth, a sense of
Two things are
visual
going on.
sense.
The entrance, Mr. Chair, is being shifted
Yeah,
over.
that's right, yeah.
Okay, and so you're losing the relationship of the two gables.
I have no idea, but, like,
So
why
whatever's
did we
being
lose
placed in the middle, I
these
think the
windows?
panelization, but you also
Yeah.
have a panel that's splitting the windows on that left, for lack of-
South side, yeah.
South side, if you will, and the middle. But I think that if it can be shown to us in a tool form,
Yeah.
a little clearer with some depth, and I think you've asked for that clearly. I think I'm fine
the
with
exterior
flexible
point of
We didn't
architecture.
lose these. Well, we
I'm
lost
fine
did.
with the architecture being
This is
flexible.
joined together,
I
they're
think we
not
need to
6
see how that's
or
going to
These are much smaller.
in the matter of both the circle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
No,
we lost all the harmony.
In a model?
Just a model, 3D model.
Of just the facade.
I'm asking for the facade, I don't know what the other guys are.
Okay, yeah, Christine, please.
You've lost the harmony that exists with these windows and these. You've changed the windows to something that is definitely worse. A lot more money, some design.
That's because the interior is driving the outside design. So on the left side,
Just so you're clear, what happens on the interior is irrelevant to our board. We're looking at the aesthetic of the exterior, and it's important to realize that whatever is decided to do on the interior, if it's going to react with the exterior, then you need to recognize that, and that's exactly what Christina Redding is saying.
Right, if I may, Alex, is it possible to maintain this fenestration?
That would be very helpful.
Without, and I know you're shifting the entrance to the south and to the left. What I hear from the board is there's a sort of a disharmony or lack of symmetry, I should say. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Between, on
No
the front
balancing.
facade.
You're talking about leaving the second floor fenestration static
Yeah.
and shifting the entry or widening the entry.
But why?
Because, to be frank, our respective clients also want to start building.
yeah, that's right.
Our clients also want to start building as well. So, would it be possible, and not do too much damage to the interior of the house that you've redesigned, to maintain the second floor fenestration? Because one thing it does have,
So your application, John, would simply for moving the entry to the left, is that?
I think to the south, yeah.
To the south, or as we're looking at shifting it to the
I think
left?
there might be some first floor fenestration changes there, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's the second floor that creates the issue. It's fair to say.
It just feels off balance to me.
You have to move the fenestration
It
along the
looks
first
like
floor
they're
because we're moving
creating
the
a large
entrance, obviously, but the
open-
second floor.
open,
If I can be blunt,
Yeah.
what's the problem with leaving the second story fenestration the way it is?
Well, like I said, the proposed floor plan, which I know does not concern you, kind of affects.
You
the
have an
window.
interior open floor plan on the first floor, correct?
Yes.
That's the reason why you have the big bay window.
Right.
Which is now on the, east side.
Yes.
And that's why you're shifting the doorway to the west.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
More true light coming into the house. I get it. It's just, it's throwing us off in terms of the exterior symmetry. And unfortunately, from the photo, we can't really see the first floor because the hedges are too high. So its current design is kind of obscured, so I don't know exactly what that.
Ryan, do you have any?
Well, I think, anytime you do a renovation, the drawings have to show existing, proposed, and we're missing that here, so
We
that's.
gotta
the-
try to supply it with this, but that's.
We have the existing, oh, actually, yeah.
No, the
Existing-
front
When you
elevation, we don't.
resubmit, it would be helpful to have existing proposed underneath it on the same page, but well detailed, so that they're three-dimensional.
And I want to go back to the original window that you had there. I don't think any of the board was saying we didn't want it.
Mhm.
Saying that we can't really read it based on the plans that we
That's
have.
what this was all
That's-
about,
I
so-
mean, it wasn't come in with new design, it wasn't changing the
Oh,
windows.
you just needed a 3D.
We can't see exactly
Clarification.
what you're presenting in terms.
But on the other hand, if the board members, as a majority, would prefer this fenestration, I'd like to know that.
I would.
Yes.
I would as well.
That's where
Well,
we're
that
going.
means not even changing the doorway, though.
Excuse me? No, the second floor fenestration.
Yeah, but then where does the doorway go?
It goes to the
Well, shift to the
west.
south.
I mean, there are some challenges to that because right now we do have a partition.
You have a closet and a bathroom
It has to
in the middle.
see these
It's killing
windows
that
in
window.
order to move this.
I would like to see you guys kick the can down here a little bit. Maybe having a flat entry, something that minimizes the impact of the entry, if you can
So without
keep
that
the.
pediment.
Yeah. we get rid
Right,
of the
that's throwing
pediment.
it all off. The front
And-
door's
Yeah.
throwing it all off.
Yeah.
Use the pediment over the entrance.
Right, so kick the can a little bit, clean it up, and then come back to us, right?
Sounds good.
Okay, but in such a way that it's a little three-dimensional. Now, if you're asking,
Give depth, give the angle, give some symmetry in terms of three dimension.
if you're asking the board that these windows on the second and first floor are staying static, and
No,
all
not
you're
the
doing
first
is
floor.
changing, perhaps on your next application, the entry to modify it, to slide it over and perhaps flatten it out,
What?
is that what you're requesting?
Well, I think the fenestration on the first floor, because of the interior design
Has
as the
to move.
chairman, is gonna have to be changed. But I think can divine where you want us to go on the second floor and the entranceway.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So you're asking for an adjournment until you can get that organized?
Yes, when's the next meeting?
January 12th.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the applicant's request to adjourn 145 Breeze Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next
Great
application.
holiday, guys.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Okay. Next application is Jane Moss. Jane Moss,
The applicant present?
is the applicant present?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the application for Jane Moss, 53 Howell Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, please.
Will, this is yours. Kristen Von Sen, 135, construct two-story addition and dwelling. You were going to get together with the,
Will Schultz, architect, representing Christian Brunson. I did get together with the neighbor after our last meeting,
Yeah.
and the letter I submitted and the paperwork sort of reflects what he and my client have agreed to.
what does the letter say?
I'll read it.
This was on the west side of the
Yes.
his east side, your west, right?
My client's west side, his east side.
Got it.
This is the landscape plan that was submitted. Specific to what he discussed were putting in 6 hollies, Nellie Holly Stevens, 14 to 15 feet, at the spacing shown between the 2 poles.
Is the addition still 22 or 24 feet?
No, the addition in the back here?
Yeah.
We've also reduced that from 21 feet to 19 feet, the dormers on the second floor.
Okay.
As per his request.
Okay.
We also, on that west side of that addition, we've eliminated some windows. As
On
per
the
his
second
request
floor?
Also, yes. We've
Okay,
eliminated
so you're
3
killing the windows on the second floor, you've pulled the addition back and you're putting in planting.
Yes, and the groundskeeper is the same for both properties, so he sort of brokered this as well.
Well, having his job is important.
It was great. And I also submitted the photographs showing, this is my client's house,
Okay.
135 Toilsome. This is my client's driveway. This is the shared driveway on the other side of those
Yep.
hedges.
Okay.
And this is the neighbor's house.
Okay.
So behind this arborvitae is the row of hedges, and then interspersed in the hedges is row of planting.
Very good.
And the stakes are where the neighbors put them, where he.
Got it. Thank you.
Any public comments on the application? Anything further from the board?
No.
Are you satisfied with the application?
I also have emails from the neighbors saying he.
Sure you do.
Should we enter those into the record?
Do you want to enter those into the record, Will?
I can.
I think
would,
that's a good
yeah.
idea.
Here.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the application of Christian Van Sanden at 135 Toilsome Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for working with the neighbor. Okay. Next application is Eric Felder, 256 Wickapog. Eric Felder.
Good evening, my name is Daniel Butler, representative for Eric and Dina Felder, and I'm also here with Britton Fistrian, and we're here to, I guess this is our second time, to just recap. The application is for an 8,800 square foot gambrel and shingle style home with shingle roof with white cedar siding, and the trim would also be white painted azide. At the last meeting, we had not had a dimensions survey, which I believe you should have as part of the file.
Thanks.
I don't know if we need any further copies. I'm sorry.
One more time.
We had submitted a survey as part of the file.
It was not a complete survey.
It wasn't a complete
Right,
survey
you
last
needed
time,
to get a revised,
Yes.
updated survey.
which we had done, and it should be in the
December
file.
5th, you filed that in the village building department.
Correct.
Brian, any comments?
No, I had no issues with the house, it was just the application.
Application was not complete. Esther?
I've had a chance to review it. I don't have any issues.
Pam?
Second.
Christine?
No, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay. Any public comment on the application? I don't think we had any aesthetic issues with the application. It's just
One second, can we go back, what were there were 3 issues.
Yeah, there was one,
brick
there was
issue.
some stone
Yeah,
on the
there was a
facade,
brick-
that he replaced with, on the stone front facade there, we would replace that with shingle. And then the stone also wrapped around and went up the chimney.
Right.
Which the homeowner was perfectly happy with going with shingle, where the stone was, and then make the chimney brick.
Okay, got it, all right. And those were the only, but wasn't there a side building or some kind?
Oh, yes, in the out portion, in the letter from the neighbor had pointed out that there was a tent-like structure in the rear yard.
Right.
And I had gone to the building department after our meeting, and sure enough, it is in the rear yard, so the owner is going to remove it.
Okay. But there was a water table stone too that you were proposing. Correct?
No, it was the whole front, the first floor
whole
front.
front.
And he's changing it
And
to
you're
shingles.
It's
So
now
how is
shingle.
the shingle ending on the grade, if you will.
There'll probably be a belly band.
There'll be a brick, okay, fine, thanks. I'm fine with it then.
Nothing further from the board?
Nope.
Any public comment? Motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the application of Eric Felder at 256 Wickapog Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
You too.
Next application is 154 Corrigan for two-story single-family house.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Son. I'm the architect that's representing the client for 154 Corrigan. And just to recap where we left off last time.
Angle of the roof.
The angle of the roof.
Right.
Well, it's actually a 15.
15-12 pitch. Okay.
15-12. Just on the reverses on the front and the two in the rear.
Okay.
I think you guys wanted to take a field visit.
Yep.
And take a look at the site, I guess because of the influx of the scope of work that's being done in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of described how we attacked this project differently from some of the ones around that. Instead of doing the box, we tried, that's why we got the 15 pitch.
Purposely.
Right.
Got it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting.
That's
Please
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, he did. Christine, I know you weren't here the last time, last meeting. The applicant presented an application. I think for the most part aesthetically, we didn't have any challenges or issues with the application. There was some question with regards to the amount of development within the area and starting to become a little bit out of scale, and whether this particular house would be out of scale with the overall community. I've had the opportunity to review. Granted, it will be a larger home, but not necessarily out of keeping and out of scale, so I don't have any issue going forward with the application. Christine, have you had the opportunity to do a site visit?
No.
Okay. Brian?
Yes, Esther and I went, and we feel the same way you do. It's a changing neighborhood, and the new house is in keeping with the changes that are happening.
There are enough houses there. I mean, we're seeing a trend for a shift on Corrigan Street.
Yes.
Within the zoning code, but aesthetically, I have no issue with the house. Okay.
And good. Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
Thank you very much.
Make a motion that we approve the application for 154 Corrigan LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. George Harmer, 97 Moses Lane.
Well.
Everyone wants to be in the neighborhood.
Hi, my name is John Target, and I'm here with Amato Ortiz, the architect for the project. There's a couple things going on. We would like to, the house is relatively small now, it's about 2,000 square feet. We want to add about a 500 square foot addition onto it. The house is old. We're trying to work with the existing house, not it'll still be 2,500 square feet, relatively small, and we're trying to keep it looking very similar to the way it's looked for the last 50 to 60 years at least. We also are looking to do a detached garage in the front yard. We have been before the zoning board on that issue. We have to go back at the next meeting.
So you still require zoning?
We still require zoning board approval, yeah. In designing this whole project, we looked at trying to comply with zoning, and we looked at what's gone on in the neighborhood. We looked at, I'm not sure how long this board's been here for, but there was a...
300 years.
This particular board, I mean. There was a neighbor to our, if you're facing the house to the left, who came before your board with a similar idea. That property was being reconstructed, it was a tear down and reconstruct. But we thought that the lot's only 70 feet wide, so there's not really any way to put a garage behind the house.
Why don't you show us your design? And
sure, for the...
You have photos?
Or for that, yeah. Probably about that.
Marta Ortiz, architect for the applicant. I just have a photograph here. I'm sure you've seen the property, but this is the house here. Set back 160 feet from the property line. And basically, my clients asked me to really disturb the front as little as possible. So the 500 square foot addition that we're going to do we're planning to put it over the roof of the living room over here. And this was the concept sketch that grew out of our discussion. And this is the second-story addition, which is really kept low because it doesn't have a full height. We actually are, these dormers here engaged at the knee walls, just to really subdue the actual ridge line. We also thought right now there's a very flat.
Were the dormers to the right as we're looking at it existing?
Yeah, let me just show you this one. This is existing and proposed. This is the existing house right now. The existing house right now has just a simple gable roof over the living room, and then a slightly higher roof over the dining room area over here.
Do those Dutch clips, are those on the existing house? Those folds, the ridge folds?
Ridge,
Above
these,
them?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
those
they are.
there.
Yeah, the actual, I'll show you the side of the house. It's, I guess you'd call it a this is the north side of the house here, so it's that shape there. So that accounts for the clipping on the sides. But the idea was to really try to simply put a second-story addition over it, have the two windows that we needed directly over the ones that are there now. The dormers themselves mimic the shape of the
clips.
Yep. And then these dormers here we're adding simply because right now there's a bedroom here and a bathroom here, and they have no windows at the front.
What's your ridge height on the addition, inclusive of the
ridge height
on the new addition, second floor addition?
Yeah, the total ridge is going to be 22.9.
22 feet.
Yeah.
Almost 23.
Yeah, almost 23 feet.
Very nice.
Would you be kind enough to turn that around
Can
for
you-
the camera, please?
Hold it straight up though, so it can focus.
It's a very good-looking solution, in my opinion. Proportion, dimension, scale.
Normally, typically, we ask that any addition be subservient to the existing. However, in this situation, I believe that it's sensitively done. I think it's within keeping, and I don't have any issue or challenges with Christine.
No, I have no issue.
Brian?
Nope, I'm fine with it. I think it's a successful design.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application of George Harmer at 97 Moses Lane.
Thank you, everybody.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
But you're still going back to the garage.
We're waiting for his, well, we've been there once. They asked for additional information.
Okay, so
They
we,
really liked it.
we have nothing to do with that.
We can't approve the garage, you know that.
But you can't approve it, but do we come back to you for the garage?
If the garage changes because of your either your denial or zoning board requires you to have a change in design, it has to come back before this board for
If they do
reapproval.
not require any changes, then
Then I need to ask a question. On the garage, what is your ridge height on the proposed garage right now?
Well, we just closed the application. Are you requesting that we reopen?
I'm requesting that we get, that we find out whether this garage that's going in front of ZBA approval for even existing, how we can approve a building that may never be built or may not be
You approve
placed in
things
the
all the
same-
time, subject to the approval.
Yeah.
of the
Subject to
boards.
the approval.
It can't be more than 16 feet. so-
Well, to answer your
with it-
question, it's 14.9.
14.9, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think its placement and everything else is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so that, just to clarify, do we not, if nothing changes, we do
If
not. come
nothing
back.
changes, you're fine.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to make you neurotic.
Thank you.
He does a good job of that. for
I
you.
do, sorry. Next application is,
Thank you.
Thank you.
next application is David Steinberg, 32 West, I'm sorry, North
North
Woolley.
I'm CU Will Architect. I'm representing David Steinberg.
You're probably gonna have to take that microphone and bring it down some so we can hear you.
I'm too short.
Didn't say that.
Well, I know that, painfully. So these are the smaller plans that I prepared.
Do these match, as a
That's what she
licensed
just asked.
architect, do these match the file set, these mini sets that you're proposing in exact scale?
Everything except the site plan. The site plan, I put in the shrubs and the gates.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, the
Site plan is what?
The site plan, I put in the hedges and the
You
gates.
put the hedges and the gates in, okay.
Otherwise, it's the same.
Thank you.
And I have a 3D rendering. On the top is the aerial view of the site.
Are you proposing a driveway gate too?
No,
You said no?
no driveway gate.
Thank you.
This is James Street.
Yeah, Pulaski and Foley. 32.
Hey, ridge height on this building,
33,
33. Roofing is cedar, siding is cedar.
yes.
And all the, I'm looking at your specs, so all the fascia is aluminum clad and SDLs for the windows? Similarly divided light?
Yeah, similarly divided light.
Okay.
You have a more, I'm looking at the rear property, south elevation. Is there any more detail about that panelization on the side? Is it grooved? Is it
What you looking-
second floor, south elevation?
Uh-huh.
The panels next to the windows and the this.
Where do you see panels?
Oh, those are white panels.
Sorry?
What?
White panels.
White panels. Do you have? Is it a little more defined? Because it looks like it's recessed or it's grooved.
No,
those-
it's just
Are those,
exact panels.
I
That
get the
part.
material. What I'm saying is yeah.
Um,
It's just a flush.
At this moment, I'm not planning on recessed panel.
so those are flush,
They're just
give or
flush.
take a little bit of a,
And the second story deck I have issue with.
Those are
Very-
accessible deck?
Very accessible, and it's a very narrow
Narrow
lot
lot.
in a community that, is that you bleeping?
Not me.
All right. It's a very narrow lot in a community that you could, I mean, quite frankly, this board's always very sensitive about privacy issues. That's where second story decks have an issue, because you're basically looking over another person's property. Very narrow lot, in a community with narrow lots, it's not something we would encourage.
The deck?
yeah.
I'll show you.
Oh, here it is.
You can have
I got it.
windows.
Not windows, no,
I can
Lower the
talk
railing
to the
and do it
client, see
windows.
if we can reduce the deck size. Would that be acceptable?
No.
No, inaccessible.
inaccessible.
It's
Decorative.
very close to the property line, you're 20 feet away.
How much would be acceptable? How far away?
This lot is extremely narrow. It's not something this board would encourage. Hasn't in the past, and it won't. I'll speak for me. I won't speak for the board as a whole. I wouldn't encourage it with such a narrow lot.
Well, I do have in my possession houses in this area that has roof deck that's close to the property line, and one of them is like 13 feet 6. I know it's an older house, but it's precedent. Just wondering, I would really be willing to work with the client to reduce the deck size and be further away from the property line.
And what about panelizing that side so it was more solid, or putting a roof that pitches? A lot of times, what we encourage is that when moving this back from the side property, you begin to put a pitched roof so it becomes
I
not
can have a portion of it, like
portion of it.
It's a roof,
You roof
regular roof.
on the side yard.
And on the
primarily.
side that's closer to the neighbor.
So it
and
appears, yeah.
And then I will have maybe half of it is accessible.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with any portion of a second-story deck on Willie Street in this
But
narrow lot.
there are people who has it.
That
though.
doesn't necessarily mean this board approved it,
Recently approved it.
or approved it, period.
I haven't.
We've had
But-
situations where people have put, and I'm even hesitant about windows and making it aesthetic, because I've seen situations where windows were converted and accidentally put in for accessibility.
That's why if you do a
I
roof
have it
pitch,
approved here, 45 Moses, that's 20 feet away from the lot line, and the roof deck is across the entire back of the house.
if we do a
This
pitched
house is entire
pitched
back
roof
of the
back there,
house.
I'm sorry?
and if we do a pitched roof and windows back there, and it eliminates the use of the porch overall, if you simply do windows, it's not going to eliminate its potential use.
That's correct.
Okay, so would you,
Why we're arguing
I-
about this, 'cause
I-
it's not-
yeah,
I'm gonna, I'll pull the board, but I'm telling you my point of view. Christine, second-story deck.
No, not on Pulaski Street on a narrow lot.
Brian.
Yeah, it's a corner lot, and it's just too exposed.
Esther.
No.
in this location, no.
Rose's is a different location.
But I have also on here, I have 136, Woolly has it, 124,
In
Woolly
this
has
new,
it.
in this new application, no, in this particular lot.
I have it 107 Pulaski, that was approved, that was just recently approved.
Well, we just went through the entire board. The board is absolutely adamant about not approving a second-story deck
In this location.
in this location.
But if you have a house there and you can have windows, you're still looking at your neighbors, and it is.
But right now, you have two French doors opening out to a large railed porch. Would you reconsider pitching a roof in that area and the changing on the application
I
of the
can-
French doors to windows so it makes the porch or makes the roof
I
inaccessible?
would also ask that the railings be reduced
And the railings are reduced so
to be
that
just
they're
decorative.
decorative only.
Would it be okay if I reduce to half of it as a roof deck, and then this part will be pitched roof with window? Then I will increase my distance to the neighbor to 35.
I would be okay with that as long as you had the detail of how far that was inset, and if it increased it closer to 35 feet, and it was minimal, but I'd be very careful.
No, just lower the railings and make them windows.
But that would be unfair to the client who would like to have a roof deck where neighbors can have it. And we are 15 feet away from the property line. If I decrease this porch, I can do, 15 plus 15, 30 feet, at least 30 feet away from the property line. And then I will do a regular roof over here and put windows here and just a little bit here at the roof deck. Would that be
Which would
okay?
face back towards the pool, correct?
Yes, facing the pool, and this side is a street.
How far, what's the
This
depth?
side is a street
What is the
because it's a
depth
corner
of
lot.
the deck? Give me the dimensions
deep
of the
is the
deck.
deck?
The
Of
deck
the
is-
usable deck, give me the dimensions you're trying to propose.
I'll give you
After
the
that
exact
adjustment.
dimension. 11 feet 11.
11 by 11 usable, which would be.
11 feet 11, so it's
Would that be the end result, or would it be
Would be
half of
just-
that?
This
I
part.
can do, I
can
can
do
do
what?
12 by 12.
You can do, so the length of this table, more or less, a little bit more.
So it would be this part. Christine?
I'd be okay with that.
Esther?
You can draw it up and you can come back and we'll take a look at it then. I'm
a
not
good
going to give you
answer.
my answer
Brian?
now.
Yeah, I have other issues with the house that I think are more
Well,
important.
let's talk about
So,
that.
Your column sizes, you have very fat-looking columns at the front entrance and in the back, and then on the side porch, there's a smaller column, but yet on your plans, they're all the same size.
No, I will fix that. I
Okay.
think that's a mistake on the
Okay.
elevation.
And then your front entrance, you have a clear story and side lights that are very, very small panes, where the rest of the house has much larger panes in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something that needs to be adjusted there, too.
I'll change that.
Transom and the side lights.
Yeah.
Right. And is your roof line, it's just all over the place in terms of, sheds coming up, towers coming up, gables coming up. Is there any way to clean this up to make it look more harmonious for a small house? I mean, it looks like a house that had a lot of additions added onto it. And it's a brand-new house, so you have an opportunity to make it much simpler.
But on this side, I have no choice because of the pyramid line.
Well, the pyramid law is a boundary.
So,
It doesn't shape design, nor should it.
On this side, it's...
Do you understand that? It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that you can
I'm talking more
compromise.
on that. You're coming up to a flat roof, and it's coming down, and that's right on North Woolley Street. So that's a front elevation.
This part is a little bit hard because I need to do one story here. I must do one story here because because of the setback that I have to utilize this area as one story. I can't raise it to 2 stories because that's closer to the street, and I'm using the existing non-conforming.
Okay.
So
If your roof did something like that, and the front gable then became a dormer, it would be more harmonious and flow a little bit better. Maybe a simple adjustment like that. Just because this is this is the front of the house on North Woolley, and it's not that attractive.
It's too broken up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you done?
So specifically, if
Those
you
are
come
the
back
market
and clean up the roof lines, we'll take another look at the porch if it's modified substantially without French doors and with windows and pulled back substantially from the side yard. The entry fenestration, the columns, and the relationship of the single-story pitched roof to the building needs to be looked at.
All over the place. That's
Any public comment on the application? So yes, you have something
just want
further?
to clarify what we want to change. The fenestration of front door, size of the column, and the roof line, and the deck. I didn't quite understand what you're requesting.
You were making a recommendation to reduce the amount of accessibility of the second-story deck.
Okay, so I will.
So you have to make an argument before this board why we would approve such a.
Inclusive of stepping it back in a way.
Hold on.
Yep.
Not only that, I would also add in there any type of screening that you plan to propose to try to offset any visual impact that second-story deck would have on the neighboring property. We're looking at line of sight. If your purpose of that second-story deck is just to overlook the pool, shouldn't be anything more than a step out.
Can't have chairs out there.
When you say screening, do you mean by the hedges along the
Hedges,
property line?
landscape plan, hedging, tree, anything that you can propose. I'm just giving you ideas, but I can't propose your application for you. You have to propose it before this board.
Yeah, I understand.
So you will present a case for this board to, quite frankly, make a recommendation that it hasn't done in a while, and that's that second-story deck
Okay.
on a down lot.
There are hedges along this line existing.
Show them.
What I'm saying is you're going to prepare a presentation to demonstrate why we would approve the application as submitted.
Okay, I will reduce the size of the deck.
Okay.
Are you requesting?
To adjourn?
Yes.
Are you asking for this board to adjourn the application until you can return?
Okay.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Make a motion, we approve the applicant David Steinberg,
Second.
request to adjourn.
All in
Second.
favor? All in favor? Next application, please.
Warren Nielsen, sorry, 50 James Street.
Nicholas
How do I
Bureau.
pronounce that? How do I pronounce the first?
Nielsen.
No, the first name.
You say Born. I say,
Warren,
I say, I call him
everybody calling
Bjorn.
it
but-
that.
Bjorn.
Warren.
Bjorn Borg.
Yeah.
Right. Nicholas Vera, architect for the applicant, the Nielsen's. I would like to just offer some mini sets of drawings, please. I'll keep one for myself. Just for clarification, there are a couple of detailed clarifications that, I don't know if they were on the big sets, but we've consolidated into the smaller sets, and also some clarification on site plan. So, the Nielsen's are looking to construct a new house on this piece of property. There was an existing house there, we had a demo permit, took the house down. Now we're looking to move forward with our application to build this two-story house, a shingle-style house with a red cedar roof, red cedar siding to be stained in a dune gray, which is a beigey warm gray, white trim, white details, white windows.
1 second, please.
Sure, I'm sorry.
A little bit of housekeeping.
Yeah.
You have
Notice and mailing.
Notice of mailing. Can I go back for a second? You said that these mini sets are different in what way? to
Just
file
a couple of clarifications. I think I just consolidated
What are the
some
clarifications again?
details on the soffits, just some details on the, and I believe,
Appendages only?
appendages only, yes.
Okay.
Yes, nothing design-wise, everything else.
Roof, any change in the
None,
roof?
none,
What is the
zero.
material for the roof?
Excuse me?
What is the roofing material?
Roofing material is red cedar.
Okay, and the
Perfections.
siding material?
Red cedar
And
perfections,
the trim?
white AZAC,
Okay.
or AZAC to be painted white.
There's a little Dutch colonial on the corner.
And the landscape plan shown on the mini set is SO1?
SO1, correct.
You're showing a 14-foot linden, new privet hedge to match existing, hydrangea,
Yeah, as our,
picket fence on the...
Sorry, this landscape plan that you're proposing, is that something you've personally done?
yes.
Nicholas, how many square feet is the house?
No.
The house is a total of 2,875 square feet.
Okay. And the ridge line?
Ridge line 29, I believe, 20, almost 29 feet.
Okay. Looking at A02.
A02.
You're piercing through the
Yeah.
pyramid law, what's up with that?
Just on the,
Both sides.
just to the, whatchamacallit, to the soffits, I'm not above the plate heights on
So you're
those.
not on the, is that legal?
According to your building department, it is.
I've never heard that. How can you pierce through the structure?
I'm just piercing through the fascias.
I seem to remember an application with Senator Javits on Gin Lane years ago when they did the same thing. It was a setback and they made him take all the soffits off the entire house.
Really?
Yeah. It was like 1974. I'm aging myself, but I don't think the pyramid
Do you
would
remember
be
that?
inclusive
Wow.
of slicing through the structure.
Again, I'm not, I mean, I'm.
By the way, I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Then it would be his story.
Yeah, I had to put that in there, exactly.
The building department didn't seem to raise an issue with them.
I think that's probably,
Okay.
That's not an
Understood.
admission of,
Okay.
I think probably that's a very good point that Ham is raising. I would
Okay, well,
certainly
we'll
keep me
clarify that.
to
Check it out.
I absolutely will.
Because, you know what, I've seen a lot on Post Lane, there was a thing called, remember the Toilsome Post Lane Association?
Yep.
And my gosh, they did a lot of their homework, you know? And part of the reason the pyramid law came into being was that neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
And I think that not only that neighborhood, but the houses are very close together there on Post Lane.
Okay.
It's a-
Counselor, do you know anything about that?
I don't even know what the question is.
Okay.
On this,
On the elevation, it is showing the actual pyramid law?
the pyramid law was designed so that the house isn't built to the outer boundary of it. Like this, okay?
So it appears to
I'd like to
I
see
don't-
a
I don't know of any
clarification of that
exception
before
to
we
the
look.
pyramid law.
I think you brought this up.
I
before
don't
we started
remember
the
this
meeting.
ever become, but I'll check it out, and I can always very easily revise the drawings to make sure
Well,
that.
With all due
I
respect,
can clear
easily
that. I understand
revised
that.
means changing
Changing
the
it.
whole style of the roof or eliminating it. So if it did pierce it, okay,
Mhm.
then the soffits aren't going to appear as this on either side of the
Correct.
house. And so that's why I'm raising it, because it's come up before. I don't
Okay.
mean to be a pain in the butt or anything, but it has a significant change on this entire structure.
absolutely.
Nicholas, what is the
Also-
purpose, what is the purpose of the violation of the pyramid angle?
He's saying he's not violating. but-
He's claiming that the angle of it,
Let him answer.
My interpretation has always been, in this village and town of Southampton, that as long as I wasn't going above the plate height, my fascians and soffits could pierce the pyramid law.
No.
Because,
Yeah, I've never had that.
okay.
Never.
I have, but, okay.
good try.
No, it's not, it's not a try, I'm not even,
You're talking about then the inner structural plate.
the inner structural plate, correct. I always thought it was a volume issue, okay.
I don't know of any precedent
Okay.
that that's the case. So.
All right.
It might be something that,
If I am incorrect, then I will make sure that this gets corrected, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you're going to be presenting a new set of plans, which, by the way, as Ham stated, once you do so, it will change the entire
Could
design
change, it
and
could
as
change
well
the,
as the
it could, yeah.
it could change, well, I mean, I could, it might be just a matter of,
kitchen roofs are definitely going to change the style.
I mean, I could just change the heights of, I have substantial heights inside the house. I could change plate
No.
height, 6 inches on the first floor and 6 inches on the second
That's
floor.
not really the issue that I have,
I
because the
understand.
pyramid's drawing attention to
I
it. But
understand.
what I'm really looking at is, the pitch of the roof is too, to me, is not right. I'd like to look at the neighborhood in relation, Nick, to this application, and just get a little more used to it. And, do you have a streetscape?
No, I didn't do streetscape, but I will do.
I'd like to see a streetscape on this. I think the landscape that you got here looks great. The house, the way it presents, looks terrific. The distance from the front yard to the face of the house is how many feet?
It's a little, it's 40 feet. Actually, it's 40 feet to the front porch.
And the side yards are about 15 feet, and sorry, not 15.
That equal 14, 7, 14,
14 feet.
what's there, almost 15
And
feet.
that ridge line goes up, I'm sorry.
20, what is it, almost 29 feet,
29
28,
feet.
29 feet, 8 inches.
30 feet in the air, 14 feet off the property line, and 40 feet off the back is fine. I just would like to view the site.
Again,
Ryan,
well-
comments?
No, I think Ham pretty much covered it.
Esther?
I think so. I'd like a little more explanation about the landscape,
Sure.
the dimensions, the
Okay.
heights, et cetera, calipers.
Christine?
No, I have no comment.
All right, I would need more clarification from the building department
Yeah.
as to
Sure,
why,
absolutely. No, I understood. Say no more.
Yeah, thank you. So are you asking for?
Any public comments on the
Someone's
application?
here.
Please step forward.
Yes.
My name's Elizabeth Mapes. I live at 94 Post Lane, right across the street from this property at the T-junction of James Street and Post Lane. So I am a member of the famous, infamous Toilsome Lane crowd, but I'm not here in that capacity tonight. I'm here because this particular property is right at the center of our neighborhood. And it's always been a place where people gather and meet one another and so on. It's almost like a public spot in terms of our neighborhood. And our neighborhood has traditionally had smallish houses, has small lots, but it's always has had a pleasing amount of open space, a surprising amount of open space considering how many houses there are and how close they are to one another. So I just think that this is an important lot to consider, not only because of the dwelling, but also because of the landscaping, because it affects everything around it. In a nutshell, I don't have too many reservations about the house. It's one of those sort of blocky-looking houses. It's not glamorous at all, but I think that it could be a good citizen going forward. But I am concerned about one particular issue. Before I get to that, though, I do think he's done some good things. You did comment on the roof line and so on. I can see that why you have those reservations. This is an extremely narrow lot. It's only 67 feet wide. And so it has to be very close to Post Lane because of that. And I think the fact that the roof does slant back from Post Lane instead of run parallel to it, and that the house is not as high as it might be, are really good things. He's also pulled it back further from James Street than the previous house, so that it's going to have more of a front yard, which I think gives us potential for better landscaping than we had before. But my concern is basically the landscaping, because I don't want this lot to become another example of something we've seen popping up all over the whole center of the village and encroaching here in our area to what I would call fortress landscaping. I think we recognize it when we see it. A new house goes up in the position of an older house, and often even before that house is finished, the very tall hedge and the arborvitaes go in immediately so that it becomes, the house is not visible and the total front is a row of these mammoth plantings. I think there are reasons for this. The deer issue is part of it. People are trying to protect their property. This often hides some sort of a fence, so on. Their houses are larger. They need more parking spaces because of regulations. So the front yard becomes a parking lot to some extent. So they're trying to hide that. But I think mainly it's because people want their privacy. They're very keen on having their privacy, and there are costs to that. They may think they're upgrading to become sort of like the estate property, kind of creating a grand allée lined by hedges. But that really isn't what happens in small streets in the middle of a village, where I think the character needs vitality, it needs a variety, it needs places for people to congregate. Instead, it becomes very boring if you have nothing but these high hedges. The most egregious example is actually in our neighborhood at the very end of James Street at the corner of Herrick, the southwest corner, what was formerly the Logan Coulter property. I believe it was bought by Tim Davis. There was a tear down and so on. And what was previously a very lovely, welcoming garden, which enhanced the house and enhanced all the properties going down James Street, is now this wall of 15 to 20 foot high arborvitaes planted so close
Can we stay
together
on this-
you cannot
this
see the house.
application, though?
I'm getting back to this application.
Are you, okay, and you do realize, just as a side note, that you can apply to the ZBA for relief from the pyramid, so that the roof line is not forced in such a way because of what you want to do. And that you want to, I think that should be known to village residents, that often you can adjust and for an aesthetic reason.
Right. I think sometimes
But you like
they
the
do
fact that it's
this.
set back from the street by 40 feet or so, is that?
But I think also the other side of Post Lane is a place where it would be very valid to have high hedging of some sort. There is hedging now. And if there have high hedging along where the house is close, that I think would be fine right there. But what I'm asking really, I think, is that the whole corner, the whole thing, not be completely hedged in, that the front yard, which has now been opened space-wise, can remain a little bit more public. So you can see, get a sense.
You may wish to spend some time
Yeah.
and talk together and brainstorm a
Okay.
little bit. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, right.
So I would suggest that you talk.
Okay.
Good.
That would be great.
Terrific.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. I know you have no legal reason for demanding a landscape plan, but I just wanted to be on the record that I think it's an issue.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, for the record, I think this is the first, certainly this board has the right to demand a landscape plan.
Mhm.
I think this is the first time I can remember where somebody has requested less landscaping, and quite frankly, there is no legal right to do that.
I'm not requesting less landscaping. I'm requesting more interesting landscaping. I'm
Well, what if they
requesting that
just put
instead of
row-
a wall,
Well, what if
it's
they
like
put a
a
row of arborvitae right on the property line, 20 feet tall? That's not what you want, correct?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that there can't be landscaping that
Yeah.
somewhat makes it softer.
Nicholas,
that
you're
there's-
willing to
that there's a
speak with
driveway.
her?
If you look at the existing photos of the existing house before it came down, basically it's all the circular driveway, 30 feet off
You
the
can,
road.
it'll be better than that.
I think the two of you will discuss this after the meeting, and
Yeah.
at that time, I'm sure the two of you can come with a reasonable proposed
Okay.
plan.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Could only take one of my sets.
Yeah, don't take
Here
this.
too?
Oh.
Nicholas, are you requesting to adjourn this?
Hold on.
Wait, is there
I
any
just
more
think of-
public
Any more
comment?
public comments? Anything further from the board?
No.
All right, so.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to approve the application, Bjorn Nielsen, 50 James Street.
The applicant's request to adjourn.
At the applicant's request to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 119 McGee Street, two-story, single-family dwelling. That's this one.
But we don't need this, right? This is going to get changed. So see my circular file underneath the desk.
Circular file?
There we go.
Anthony Vermandoff.
This is going to change. We need this.
How are you, Anthony?
Good. How are
Good
you?
evening.
Good. Good evening.
Hi.
See,
Okay, so I guess you have your drawings there, and I'm going to just go through them. So there should also be photographs of the surrounding neighborhood in the as well. So on the first page of the drawing set S1, we have our site plan and our streetscape. As you can see, right now the streetscape is pretty much nothing. There is a to the south or to the left, there's a vacant piece of property. Won't be vacant for much longer, but is currently vacant. Then the property itself is 126.
excuse me. It's very difficult to hear the applicant speak.
126 feet wide, and then immediately to the north of the property, there's a driveway to a flag lot, and then after that is basically what's currently vacant agricultural land all the way to the railroad tracks and beyond. And
What is the lot size?
The lot size itself is just under half an acre. It's I think 21,000 square feet or so.
And how many square feet is the house?
It's 4,000 square feet.
4,000 square feet on a half an acre.
Big house.
Okay. I'd like to look at the site on this, how it's sited on the property.
Esther and I went today. It's a big improvement.
Yeah, no, I know it's a big improvement on the lot.
You know, I think with regard to
Anthony, what's the roof material?
Cedar shingles.
And the siding?
Cedar shingles.
And divided light windows, 6/6s throughout?
Yes.
Okay.
Painted white trim.
And the chimney?
Chimney will be brick.
Okay, and the house is set back how far from the street?
40 feet.
40 feet, and the side yard setbacks?
25 feet and 20 feet.
Okay, and the ridge line height?
Is 29 feet.
30 feet. So 30 feet, 40 feet back, 30 feet on either side, you say?
25 and 20 on
25
the
and
sides.
25, cedar roof, cedar siding, white painted trim, brick chimney, right?
Yeah.
And what's your concern, size?
No, not anymore. I'm figured it out.
Well, I think one thing.
Scale is good, I'm fine with it.
One thing
And
with the
location is
scale is
good.
just across the street, you
I
have
don't
the
think this board has
Bishop's.
any issue.
We don't have any issue.
Esther?
Good.
Christine?
Improvement.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
Okay. Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve the application for 119 McGee Street LLC.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Last application for the evening is Willa Bernstein, 28 Old Town Road, for an addition and reno to existing house.
Good evening. My name is Anastasia Hamelchikova. I'm the architect for the applicant, Willa Bernstein. Here are a few review sets we'd like to distribute. The application is for an addition, about 260 square feet covered or enclosed, and then an additional covered porch. The proposed design
Sorry,
proposed-
side note, Zach,
Sorry.
as part of that checklist that we do for the town, for the village, for the building department, adding smaller plants as part of the application process. While it's in my head, I'm sorry. I just wanted to-
To share with me.
So the addition as proposed, you can see the existing elevations on page DM 200 and the proposed elevations on A 200. The materials proposed will match the existing stucco, same roof material, which is red asphalt shingles. The windows match the existing scale of the windows, and overall, the design tries to blend in with the current aesthetic of the house as much as possible.
When are you planning on, if you get approval, when are you planning on doing this?
As soon as possible, so, you know, as soon as we can get going.
Brian, comments?
Nope, I know the house well, I knew the previous owners.
Oh,
so,
is that right?
It's a big improvement.
Good.
Christine?
No, I know the house and it's an improvement.
Try not to work on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay? You're ready to, yeah, you know where I am. Good.
The addition is submissive to the original, in keeping, I have no issue with it, and I don't see if there's any public comment because there's no public. So, motion to approve.
Just a question, what's the roofing material?
It's a red asphalt shingle, which is the
Same
existing.
as what's there
Correct.
now, so you're not gonna change that?
Nope, match existing.
You're trying to keep it quiet, right?
Will do.
Make a motion to approve, please.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Willa Bernstein at 28 Old Town Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Make
you.
as much noise as you like.
Stop.
6 a.m. will be
Don't do it.
preferable. All right. I think there was some issues with some minutes that had to be clarified before we go further.
Is it recording? No, I took care of it already.
You took care of it?
No, that was just a spelling correction.
Yeah, that was it. Is there more?
Well, I
there
think Christina
were-
was not in attendance.
Yeah, there were a couple, I sent you an email, responded saying that you had Christina's here present.
Okay, I can correct it in a second. I didn't get that email, so
Okay.
I'll take care of that. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That would have been November.
I was here in spirit.
You were definitely here in spirit. So we'll approve at our next meeting.
Okay.
So,
Excuse me, Chris.
November 24th.
September 22nd has been, it came off, but it was never approved because we didn't have a quorum to
Okay.
vote on it. So if you can vote on that one, it's way down.
motion to approve September 22nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were all here?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
No, there wasn't a quorum. It was Brian, Christina, and Curtis, so we
Okay.
couldn't.
I see.
Okay.
On the 22nd of
And
September?
I think I can pull it up.
I was there.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I have it right here. It is, I have Curtis, Pam, Esther, and Brian. Christina was present, so why couldn't I get a vote on this one? I don't have a vote on this one for some reason.
Okay, just for formalities. For formalities.
Approving the minutes.
I apologize, I don't know.
So I wasn't here, is that what you're saying?
No, you were here, Christina was absent, but for some reason, I never got a vote
I
on this
wasn't
one.
here.
All right, motion to approve minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for September 22nd, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to close the last meeting for 2014.
I make a motion to close the meeting for December 8th, 2014.
Second.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year.
All in favor?
Aye. Good night.
Holidays, Happy New Year.